Hopefully that whoa wasn't heard.
You cannot just put the pressure on me and tell me that I have to be funny as soon as the stream starts.
I'm sorry, it's the rules.
That is not how. No. I
was gonna say, out the two of us, who's the funny one? I think it's you.
I think it's about equal. No, I think
is it equal? Okay, I'll take that.
I think it's about equal.
Joy, exactly. Like, Joy, be funny. Right, let me. For some reason, Tumblr did a Tumblr, so I'm just fixing it.
Tumblr did a Tumblr. Surprise, surprise.
I know.
I wrote a massive post this week on Tumblr, like 3 hours worth of work, right?
Damn.
And then the editor went blank.
No.
Like, it didn't delete, but the whole page went like blank, and I had to like refresh, and it didn't save it. Gutted.
I feel like the start.
I had to go back and rewrite it because I couldn't ignore it. And I did like an hour's worth of work, and then people were just poking holes and going, "This isn't accurate." And it's just like, I don't care anymore. I've just lost 4 or 5 hours of my life.
No, I mean it's funny. Like every time we start a new episode, people get an update on all things Tumblr. One of the things that I've noticed on the iOS device is there is actually like a solid drafting system now, where when the app does go blank and the editor does a purge, you can open it back up and it'll say, "Would you like to restore your draft?" It doesn't have like a save draft function. Why can't we have
that in desktop?
Dunno. It's in the laps of the Tumblr staff gods. But aye, that's it's on iOS. iOS seems to be, I don't know, they're getting their work sorted.
iOS supremacy.
Exactly, it is. Hope everyone who's joining us has had a good weekend. We'll be getting started pretty soon, and we have tons of stuff to talk about BioWare. Me and Joy are steeped in BioWare history. Our gaming experiences are intertwined.
We were like, what can we talk about? And I was like, we could talk about games.
Fucking
and then
games,
you came back with BioWare, and it was just like, oh, we can literally talk about this for multiple weeks. Fantastic.
Dracotta's going, oh dear, oh fuck. we're going to hear of all the worst ships in the Dragon Age universe.
All the drama that I could dredge up. If we want to just go completely off the rails, I can just get into drama for fandom discourse.
Fandom discourse drama. I feel like I need a refresher on all the names of the people in Dragon Age. I can chat round all of the Mass Effect people, no problem at all. Dragon Age I've not played as much though. I've played Mass Effect 2.
Lie, I have a character list pulled up at the side. Yeah. I remember. It's been so long. So.
Who the fuck is everyone in a BioWare game? But
why am I out of focus so much? What is happening with my camera? Why is it? Is this my fate now? Am I just pixelated?
No, you're good. I think it's struggling to like find the most like flawless part of you, so it's just jumping all over the place.
That'll be it. Yeah.
I've got to bam you up at least once on stream. Pros of iOS Tumblr: you can resummon your drafts from the blank dimension. Yeah. Cons: no April Fool's crabs. Yeah, that is.
I got the crabs. I got crabs on my the new gifting feature. Do not no one clip that. The new gifting feature where you can gift people crabs. It now works on iOS. Of course, it would be Mothman that is clipping that.
We're talking about all things BioWare the company. That's what we're going for today. That's to be honest, like this all started just we were casually talking. It's like, oh, it'd be really good to get into like the guts of like a narrative game. So naturally, we decided to pick several narrative games. We could probably talk about each game in these in depth, but we decided we're going to do an overarching BioWare conversation because, like,
it's really just me wanting to bring up the ending of Knights of the Old Republic 2. I have feelings that I've been hanging on to since the early 2000s that I need to vent.
And that's not even it's weird how like it's the hangover because it's like it was such a natural progression and like Knights of the Old Republic 2 is Obsidian and it's like it's so good, it builds on everything, but I've got like a really really soft spot for Knights of the Old Republic 1. Like it's my go-to.
Did you see that it's been the
The
relaunch
remake,
has been
yeah,
cancelled?
yeah, like indefinitely.
I was
Um,
that, which is
which is
basically code for it's never happening.
I- t-
So
to be honest, in a way, that's kind of good. Like it almost preserves the legacy of Knights of the Old Republic a wee bit longer because, like, imagine how shit it could have been. Like, I think they said that
but
I think
imagine how good it would have been too with more up to date graphics and game mechanics
more
and
up to date graphics. I like the Dungeons and Dragons approach of Knights. See when I played Knights of the Old Republic when I was like super duper young. Like it was one of the first kind of RPG games that I played, and when I was that young, I had no fucking idea how any of it. Well, I'm no joking. I was just there for the Star Wars vibes. I'd played Star Wars
same.
Battlefront 1. I was just hanging out, and like I feel like my reading comprehension wasn't as good because I was really young and I just wanted to get into the fights, but I wasn't very good at the fights either. Um, like
You need to know how to use the stats. That's
well,
you
exactly.
know.
To be honest, I've got a really funny story about my kind of like history with RPGs and adding stats because for the longest time I realised the reason I was dying was because I was running out of health. Funnily enough, so whenever I played a game, I would sink absolutely every single skill point into Constitution or whatever one increased the health the most. So
Endurance or whatever, yeah.
yeah, so I was like the tankiest. I played all of Lord of the Rings, the Third Age, the one where it was kind of like a JRPG. Everything was crammed into that. I was doing absolutely fuck all against trolls in Minas Tirith. Absolutely nothing. But I could withstand like all of their hits. It was great fun.
Troll would just
Um,
be rolling up and hitting you, and you'd just be like,
yeah, exactly. Just fucking no
I
problem,
did
mate.
the same with I was a big huge Might and Magic nerd as a
Mm.
kid, and I loved the Might and Magic. Not so much the turn-based stuff, but the actual like the RPG things. And I used to make clerics that were just buff. Like,
Ripped
I
as
had
fuck.
clerics that I had clerics that were just rolling up, like sleeves rolled up, and they weren't
Yeah.
even casting magic; they were just punching fuck out people. And that's how I played those games for the longest time until I figured out how to actually use the stats. And I was like, oh, I've been doing this wrong this whole time. But I got the games done. But it
Yeah.
was, it was my friend was watching me play it one day, and she's just like, why is everyone in your party like because you had 4 different players? And I was like, why is everyone a tank? And I'm like, because that's the best way to play it.
Yeah. So while I was exploring, I was looking up a wee bit because like I wanted to get my research in, Joy, before we had this conversation. And one of the things I clocked was that Knights of the Old Republic wasn't my first Bioware game. I played a third person action adventure game called MDK2, and this.
BioWare.
Yeah, and this was before Knights of the Old Republic, so I was like super young when I played this, and also like had no comprehend. I feel like I just existed in a weird place of playing lots of games but not actually understanding them until I appreciate them a lot later on. But
That's
like
fair.
MDK2 was released in like 2000, so I was 4.
Yeah.
And there was a guy with like a weird suit. They had like a kind of weird pyramid head thing kind of going on. There was like
Yeah, you
a
just made me feel ancient by saying that you were 4 because I was 13.
oh shit. Sorry. But yeah, there was a dog with dual wielding Uzis. And then there was like a professor guy that was like just a dude. You can make potions and stuff. But
Dude,
like
yeah.
yeah, it was so weird learning today that was a BioWare game. Very, very strange. Um, but then of course the darling of it all started Knights of the Old Republic. What did you like see when you first started Knights of the Old Republic? Like what was your build? What do you go for in those games?
Um, I used to go for the kind of the emphasis on kind of stealth play.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I was my first and my only one true fandom to this day is the original Thief series, and I was obsessed with everything to do with stealth. Doesn't really work in
Yeah, I was getting
KOTOR, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
tried to do it that way, and I then eventually just modified how I was playing for that. But I tended to go for the kind of the kind of this was it the Sentinel build they called it for that one?
The
I can't
yellow
remember the classes.
lightsaber.
The yellow lightsaber was the
Yeah,
one I
yeah.
tended to go for. Yeah.
No, that's cool. Because I think like I normally went quite lightsaber focused, until you get to the point where you can kind of start spamming Force Lightning. You can do that.
Mhm.
That was a go-to tactic. But like on Taris, it was very like melee combat focused. I preferred doing that. Wasn't my like I had was it Karth? Karth's your blaster guy.
Yeah,
Um,
cast your guy, there's your sharpshooter, your gunslinger in the back.
Yeah, and you're cutting about with it. At first, the Vira blades. You don't get a lightsaber
Yeah.
until like way further down. Um, but stealth must have been fucking difficult doing like the arena on Taris. Like,
It was
uh,
hard. I had to replay that many times. Yeah, it was not my best decision. I think when I went and I think I may have given up my first ever playthrough and
mm,
went back and redid my stats because it was just like this is impossible. Which sucked because I remember having a guide, like a physical printed out guide, and it
yeah,
told you all the
yeah.
different things you could do, and one of them was stealth, and I thought, great, I'll go with
Oh,
that.
nice.
It's not possible.
No,
They do it just to give the stealth people hope, I guess.
no, that's fair.
Um, but yeah, I went back after that and did my usual, turned them into a tank. So, um,
We're talking about all the Arvit's asking about Bioware, worth it to stick around. It absolutely is. We're talking about kind of all games surrounding Bioware. So if you like
yeah,
Mass Effect, if you like Dragon Age, if you like kind of RPGs, we will have many a tangent, I'm sure, because we've played a lot of the games. Um, I remember there was always one bit the when you get down to like the Undercity in Taris, and you're fighting, is it the rat ghouls, the creepy
yeah,
monsters, the disease, and you go. I reached a bit where I was basically like soft locked because again I was a stupid child and hadn't upgraded anything of mine, and didn't really understand how to actually build out a character, and I got
hmm.
soft locked trying to. You have to try and get the swoop bike race thing going.
Oh, I
Um,
hated that so much.
yeah, yeah. And you have to
Talk about
break.
the game that we both love, but there's so many things that we're just like, God, that was awful.
God, yeah. But like there was a bit where you had to sneak into a base and you had to go up against a rancor, and your
Yeah,
stealth would have probably helped there. But I tried to shoot it and I got humped. So
yeah. No, there was a lot of the kind of the mechanics of it that I felt could have been done better, which is what I would have liked to have seen
from
with
the
a remake,
yeah
but not happening. So whatever. But yeah, the thing I loved the most about all the Bioware games was always the stories up until recently. That
yeah
was my main reason for hanging on to Bioware. Was like, oh, this is great. The narrative is really strong. I can just play it for,
the
um,
strength was always in the writing, like
yeah,
always in the writing, and it's funny when I feel like we're leaping through time here, but it's like when like they didn't really care so much about the narrative of Anthem, or at least they didn't look like they cared so much about the narrative of like their later games, where
yes,
it kind of all comes tumbling down. Because the thing is, I think with like I absolutely love Mass Effect. I started Dragon Age after I'd finished Mass Effect 3. So like I'm relatively new when it comes to Dragon Age as like a universe. I've played through the trilogy like a couple of times now, but I haven't
mm-hmm.
like I don't feel as embedded with all the characters
You're not as
as I do.
attached to it. See, Dragon Age was
Yeah.
I did Dragon Age. I haven't played Mass Effect. I watched Mothman play it, and I've watched other people play it.
Mm.
But it's been in my library since it came out. I just never played it. I don't, for whatever reason, because I Dragon Age just has such a strong hold on me for the longest time.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
my people who've been following me for a very long time will know I used to have my blog used to be a Dragon Age blog.
Ah,
Like
okay.
that's my origin story
Yeah.
from Tumblr was that I was a Dragon Age blog. So
Hey,
um
gotta come from somewhere.
yeah.
But no, the hey, Vortel 1998. Yep, the typo in your username's now sorted. Class. Um, but yeah, I think like I picked up Mass Effect. I actually borrowed it from one of my friends back in
hmm.
uh, back in primary school. We were still in primary school at the time, and I ended up like just absolutely loving it because it was weird from like a 2007 game. Like the UI was like so crisp. It was so
It
kind of like
was though.
futuristic and cool. I really really enjoyed it, and like it's one of those things that like kind of sticks with you because there's a bit in the first Mass Effect game where you kind of choose similar to Dragon Age Origins when you're choosing like what your story is. And you get to like choose your background and all this sort of stuff. I remember doing that. Um, like I don't know, I love the whole like Mass Effect 1's really cool because it really captures like that like exploring a whole new sci-fi universe thing,
Yeah.
and then like it progressively as the universe got more established in like 2 and 3, you kind of had it just became like way more like space opera, so like less on the exploration side and the kind of wonders of the galaxy as it was of dealing with all the kind of political mishmash and conflict and all the rest like through it. Um, so, but like, nah, I think Mass Effect for me is like an absolute standout, and it's funny how it all kind of stems from Knights of the Old Republic because I don't think I would have really come across it
Yeah,
if I
I
hadn't.
probably wouldn't have gone with Bioware games if it hadn't been for KOTOR. That was the yeah, KOTOR for me was like it already had its talent in me because it was Star Wars. And then it kind of started me off on the RPG kind of obsession that I've had for the last 20 years. Like, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say it. No, it is. Like, most of my games are RPG at this point. Or there's the occasional strategy builder like Frostpunk, but most of them are kind of the BioWare type of. And I've been chasing that ever since. Like, I was really
Oh
excited when I
yeah.
saw. I think you've played Greedfall as well. And
Eh, yeah, I've got different opinions about Greedfall though
yeah,
than you.
I'm not the story of Greedfall. I don't like the colonizer aspect of
Yeah,
Greedfall.
I don't like the
But
setting.
yeah, but the elements of the conversation and the dialogue and the way you could talk to people, I
Mm,
really enjoyed because that made me feel, oh, this feels like old Bioware, and that was
yeah,
the reason I picked up because people were recommending it to me as this is like old Bioware. If you really enjoyed these elements of the old Bioware games, you'll really like this, and I did. But the more I was in that world and everything else, I was like, I don't really like this. This
see,
is
there's
it's very imperialistic and jingoish, and
mm,
I mean, if anyone likes it, that's fine, that's fair enough. But it's a kind of narrative that I'm tired of.
for me, it's always about the technology of the time as well that I find a wee bit naff. Like you know, it's like people are still cutting about with swords. That's absolutely fine. But then there's like muskets, and I've never found a game where I've been like muskets are amazing. Like
Yeah,
I love using a musket. I love using like it was kind of reminds me of Fable as well.
yeah,
Like that kind of setting, which is very naff in my opinion. It's just a not it's like it's not a setting I enjoy watching, and it's also not a setting I enjoy like playing either. Um,
yeah.
I don't know. It always just kind of like throws me off. Um, but on here's a question from your Knights of the Old Republic playthrough. Do you have a favorite planet?
I used to love cutting about on Dantooine,
Dantooine's really
and
nice.
yeah, Dantooine was very pretty. Like I would very cheerfully just kept walking through that planet forever. And then I don't know if it's in the second game or not, but it was the underwater world. I thought that was gorgeous. Um, I can't remember the
The
name of
one
it,
where
but
you
it
go
was
underwater,
yes.
but
You're in like a little bubble under the ocean.
is it
Can't
Manan?
remember what it's. It might be Manan, yeah.
Right, I think
Um,
yeah, that's the first game because it's the one where you go into the the underwater base and all of the Selkath down there are like have
yeah, yeah,
lost
yeah,
their mind. Yeah, yeah, that one's fucking
yeah.
terrifying. That scared the shit out of
It's
me as a
scary. It
kid.
is scary, but it was a very beautiful concept. And I remember
Mm.
thinking, well, this would be really nice if it wasn't a horror game where it was just like,
See, like the Manan, like the theme tune for that planet's my favorite piece of music in the entire game.
yeah,
Like I absolutely love it. One of the things that I also really liked about Manan was the court cases. So you had to like actually do like there was like a Republic soldier who'd shot like a Sith,
yeah,
and like it turns out they had essentially just straight up like killed her at the end of the thing, but like there's all the kind of intrigue of the Sith trying to pin it on them because it's like is back when the Sith and the Republic are just two factions that are like fighting on the like fighting for
Yeah.
dominance of the planet, but it's like still governed by a main kind of group. But no, it's really good. I really like that. Kashyyyk was really quite good as well. Although
Yes.
the boardwalks could get a little bit of a maze.
I used to get lost so often in Kashyyyk to the point where I
Yeah.
would actually have to look up the guide to make sure I was in the right place.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
was I I always hate it. I'm like there has to be a better way of doing this. There has to be. But you worked with the game that you had at the time, and I think it was supposed to be like confusing because I remember in the stories as well they talked about how it was a maze. I'm going, that's great, it's fantastic for narrative storytelling and environmental building. Horrible to play,
Yeah. But I
which
think
I think
like
has to be taken into consideration when you're making a game.
yeah, I mean like in a weird way, like when I'm always gonna bring up Ancestors because I really love it as a game, but like it's kind of is the reason why all these locations and stuff are just like embedded in your memory is because you did get fucking
Yes.
lost and you memorized everything all over the planet. Like I remember there's a bit on Kashyyyk when you go down and you meet your new companion Jolie Bindo, main man, um, and he gets you into like the kind of deeper forest. He takes you through like a force field and you can kind of go into the deeper forest. And one of the really awkward side quests that doesn't really work in like an RPG like format was you had to you were like hunting Mandalorians who were like trying to track things through the forest, and
Mm-hmm.
you could only make them appear if you unequipped all of your weapons, um, which was really stupid because like you would walk into a clearing without your weapons, and a cutscene would play of you walking into the clearing, and then these guys surrounding you and like disabling their stealth generators or whatever. Um, and then you would just immediately hit pause. You'd get back into the main menu. You'd give lightsabers to all your team, and then that would be you. But like, nah,
Try to
I
abuse the system. Just
yeah.
pause. Everyone's armed.
It was also really nice to have a game where it really wasn't linear. You could go to any of the planets,
Mm-hmm.
like at any time, and you could just like explore from there. Also, I'm not gonna lie, I also quite liked Korriban. I like doing all of the
Horrible
funny
was cool.
the funny tasks that the Sith Academy got you to do. And I'm pretty sure you can get like a cut content mod that adds in Karth's son,
Yes.
who's training on Korriban.
I
um,
think I only played exclusively with that at one point because
mm,
I do remember meeting him at one point in the thing and you could play. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff to do with him that I liked because I also played the mod that puts the content back into
Knights
Knights
of the
of
Old
the Old
Republic
Republic 2,
2, yeah. Oh,
and
that's like
the ending is so much better with
I
that.
know. I remember being like so like it was so weird the ending to the original Knights of the Old Republic 2. And like because it was a culmination. Of course, it was also one of the games that, like, I think Knights of the Old Republic 1 experimented with it a wee bit when you were, like, solely in control of, like, one member of your team. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when you board, like, the Leviathan, and, like, one party member has to free, the main characters.
Yeah.
So you can be the robot and you've got to do like maths puzzles, which I learned the fucking hard way when I was young. Telling you what, I just like, and to be honest, they're still quite complex now. But you could also like, you could do stealth. You could be Jolie or something like that.
Yeah.
But then the ending to Knights of the Old Republic 2, you had, was it Mira? You had Mira fighting the evil Wookiee.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And you were meanwhile fighting Darth Treya,
yeah,
and
and
there's a scene where Acton Rand goes to square off with somebody,
was
and
it
then he
not
just
the
never
yeah
he just never shows up again. And then you
yeah
find out if you listen to the cut audio files, your character's supposed to find him dying on the ground because he sacrificed himself for you. And it is the most harrowing voice acting you've ever heard. And I'm sitting there going, "My boy, look what they've done to my boy," and just like, and it's sad. It's a really really sad ending that I think although some people might not like the fact that they're romantic part, because you only got that ending if you were romantically involved with Atten, which guess what, I was. And
It's
it
Darth
was
Scion. He squares up against
yeah, he says
the cracked guy.
Needleface, he calls him.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That
he only squares up to him he's in a relationship with you. And
ah, okay.
I remember finding that the dialogue and just being like, no.
I feel
the game
yeah.
the game as it ends implies that you all get on the Eben Hawk and you all vanish and you're all fine.
Yeah,
But if you
yeah.
actually go with what they were actually gonna do, I'm like, oh, that's heartbreaking. That would have been great storytelling, but it would have been very unfitting with the kind of the morally grey character has the redemption arc. Because Aten Rand is the kind of, he used to hunt Jedi.
Yeah, yeah.
You are his redemption.
But you can
And
turn him into a Jedi as well, which makes
you
his
can,
showdown with Scion way easier, funnily enough. Like, if you still have him as a gunslinger when you're trying to fight Darth Scion, you get fucked.
not good.
Because I remember there's a bit where you have to go through like a Sith base as Aton, and it like I remember I got soft locked again. It feels like it's a habit of mine. But it was there's a bit when you're on Nar Shaddaa and you are Aton and you have to fight two Twi'lek assassin twins, and it's like it's played off as like he tries to flirt with them and then they pull out weapons and he's like, oh shit. And the only way I could ever beat them was like if you run round the bar, you can actually like just have them like stun locked and you can just plant tons of mines and run round the back of the bar. That was how I cheesed that fight.
Can I just say, I love Nar Shaddaa as just the crime planet. Like, there's just an entire Vegas planet that just exists for crime in Star Wars. Like, oh, where are we going? Nar Shaddaa? Really? Why? No.
It's a good planet in Jedi Outcast as well. Because I think it's like Nar Shaddaa is always fun to cut about. But yeah, I mean the thing for Knights of the Old Republic 2, how long it takes you to get a lightsaber, because you have to find all the parts like individually. And
took me the longest time ever to do that. It took me so long.
Because they were in these wee guys, weren't they? They were like in the on the planet that you go where there's all the Mandalorians. Like you had to actually like go and hunt all the parts and hunt the things. I did enjoy that part of Knights of the Old Republic 2 though, where you were like you had to fix things around the Mandalorian camp. Which, by the way, Mandalore in Knights of the Old Republic 2 is Canderous from the first game, which I still find really weird, like how it's not a little bit more explicit. But I don't know. It's like they almost feel like they couldn't have leaned into that continuity because Karth's in 2 as well.
He is, yeah.
Briefly.
He's not in your party. Yeah,
nah.
He makes a cameo. I think it was probably just they wanted to make a nod to it, but I think the biggest problem we had was Obsidian going, here, do this on a shoestring budget, and then we're going to take away all your budget towards the ending, and here's, you're getting on crunch time, and like I think Obsidian did BioWare dirty with that one. I think when it came to a lot of things. I find it
really funny that like Obsidian have turned around some of the best fucking games by being put on nothing, and I don't think that any of them should ever be put through that. But it's like impressive that obviously they've done it with Knights of the Old Republic, and then they kind of went on and did it with New Vegas as well. And it's weird because like what's the most recent Outer Worlds? Outer Worlds is their new thing.
It's a fabulous game as well. I really enjoyed Outer Worlds.
I really enjoyed when I played it. The only problem is I feel like I've kind of forgotten everything about it. Like, which makes it great for a replayability standpoint, but like I couldn't really tell you a lot about it.
To me, it filled the void of what Fallout 4 should have been.
Oh yeah, definitely. Fallout 4.
To me, it felt more like a Fallout game than the most recent Fallout games have felt like to me.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the banter and I enjoyed the game mechanics. I enjoyed the story and everything else.
I mean, I feel like the writing for Obsidian's always really strong too. Like where Bethesda's actually quite weak is their writing a lot of the time. They're good at setting up the world building aspect of it, but when it comes to actually like, I mean, there's quite a lot of complex stuff, almost quite philosophical stuff, talked about in like New
Yeah.
Vegas and in Knights of the Old Republic 2. Like Knights of the Old Republic 2 is like it's always compared to being like the more gritty philosophical one, whereas Knights of the Old Republic 1 is like Darth Malik, which is a wee bit 2D. Still got a soft spot in my heart though.
Cardboard cutout.
Like he's good. I like him. He fulfills his role as like a kind of Vader stand-in pretty
Yeah.
well.
I mean, it gets the job done, but it's also very copy paste. Like,
But like I mean even like the character of Kreia, I mean I'm pretty sure someone's done a deep dive analysis of Kreia as a character.
it is.
Um
There's a fantastic video on it. I ended up falling down a rabbit hole two
oh
weeks
man.
ago. I wasn't even looking for anything Star Wars or BioWare. It just came up in my feed, and I was like, I'm gonna watch that. Like 4 hours of my life gone. It was fantastic though. Don't
Nice.
regret any of it. But it was like a really really interesting look at like it was not only a villain but a female villain, which at the time was
Yeah.
still considered to be like. I mean, it is still like you don't often get like good female villains. I feel like that aren't
And
hypersexualized.
yeah, and
You know.
and it was a companion character, so there was that dynamic to it as well. It wasn't just a like you only really interfaced with Malik through like cutscenes in
Yeah.
like Nazir, but whereas in like you could walk to the other side of the Ebonhawk and have a chat with the main antagonist of the game.
And she wasn't even like the stuff that she was saying was like it wasn't like harmful to your narrative arc. Like
Yeah,
it wasn't
no.
like there wasn't like ominous music as soon as you walked into her room. It was
Yeah,
more like,
yeah.
oh, here's the person that you have found and that you're helping, and like it wasn't like blatantly obvious that she was the villain
Yeah.
until they started telegraphing it later on. Whereas I feel like there's a lot of games where you just like you meet someone for the first time and you have no context about them.
That'll
but
be
there's just dun 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 in the
Yeah,
background,
yeah.
and you're like, oh yeah, that's the villain. You're gonna betray me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like I think they didn't have it in the first game, but in Knights of the Old Republic 2, they had you got your light side, dark side gains.
Yes.
Like points would appear if you said something evil during a conversation or whatever. They had influence gained and lost as well. And I remember whenever I speak to Kreia, it's like influence gained and influence lost and influence gained and influence lost. Like you would just never have a middle road. Eli Catkin, I will try and find Fuelin at the nearer the end of the stream. But yes, I will try and show him off.
We
You'll
can
be
substitute Hollymop in if Mothman doesn't mind grabbing her, and we can have a Hollymop cameo.
Yeah, that's what we need as well. We need a redemption. But yeah, I suppose like it's interesting going from Knights of the Old Republic, which I see is kind of very foundational to my gaming experience. Because like in a way, it was actually quite a good continuation on from like other games that I played when I was younger. Like I was playing Grim Fandango and I was playing like Monkey Island. So it's like clever, funny writing that you kind of saw through those games. Like it was a kind of natural extension of that. And then you had like I was playing Mass Effect back in 2007. Dragon Age Origins was 2 years later, which I find really fascinating because like. I don't know about you, but for me, I just feel like Mass Effect's aged better. But I'm not sure if that's just because it got all the money.
I think Mass Effect got more money, which I think is why it's aged better.
Yeah.
The space sci-fi stuff always seems to do better than fantasy.
Yeah.
This is actually a really like interesting topic to do with like fantasy in general in media, because a lot of sci-fi gets a lot more money than fantasy stuff, and it's fantasy still very much seen as cringe. Like that was the problem they had with Game of Thrones. The people producing it, the people writing for it, did not like fantasy.
Yeah, that
and
was apparent.
Showed.
Yeah,
it showed the whole way through. I'm like,
because the moment they run out of actual author material, like there was a line in the sand, and it just
shit, and it's just like, but they were trying to make it like, oh, it's I remember reading a headline which was, oh, it's fantasy for jocks. And I was like, jocks can like fantasy without it being the magic being taken out of it.
Yeah.
But there is this element in certain fantasy to make it less cringe by like removing fantasy elements or by whatever. But there is the problem where developers never and if they get less money for it because it's seen as less popular than sci-fi, and it sucks because like fantasy is a huge I could talk about fantasy. I did my final dissertation was the importance of fantasy and sci-fi as the natural development of myth and folklore into modern tales. So it was that kind of like, oh well, we don't have fables anymore, but we have fantasy and we have sci-fi. So anyway, but it was this kind of like, I remember watching it and thinking, why isn't certain things like this getting more money? Because it could be really good. Like it could be like a lot of the fantasy games that I loved, like Thief growing up is fantasy, but everyone's like, oh no, it's a stealth game. It's fantasy. It's fantasy stealth. Like you're in a world where you're literally fighting God. Like that is the premise of Thief 1. You are tricked into stealing an artifact by God, by this like demon trickster god, and then you have to fight him. That is fantasy. It's Gaslamp fantasy, but it's fantasy.
It's funny. I think I played the reboot and I did not get that fucking vibe at all from it. But I think
if you played Thief 4, Thief 4 is the original, like the original, the Thief, the Circle, the original fandom is still intact, and we all played Thief 4 and we went, we will never speak of this again. Because again, it was like, oh, we're gonna lean into steampunk, which is fine, but Thief was always Gaslamp. And Gaslamp it's this kind of the world of steampunk, but instead of it being sciencey, the science stuff is powered by magic, which is why my book is Gaslamp fantasy. It's not steampunk.
Yeah.
And it was the Thief 4 was again one of those kind of like, oh, it's we're too cool for school. We're doing this way, and Garrett's this way now, and it's like, but he was already really cool. He was already a really cool character. You didn't need to jock him up.
That happens a lot, doesn't it? Like, yeah, I think it's quite interesting that actually, because like if you look at how the worlds have been built from like Dragon Age versus Mass Effect, like Mass Effect, obviously Earth wasn't in it at all until the final game. Like you didn't see Earth at all. And you haven't seen a lot of the Dragon Age world either. Like when it comes down to it, you've seen the what I call the right hand side, because from the Inquisition map you've like played Origins on the right hand side of that. You then had one city in Dragon Age, like the whole thing purely in Kirkwall.
One city and a couple of caves.
Yeah, and then you had obviously kind of like expanded. You went through the you had the left side of the map in Dragon Age Inquisition, whereas like as well on the Mass Effect side, obviously the Citadel kind of like revolves around the whole universe, but like at least you were going on to multiple different planets, and I feel like you've seen Dragon Age England, Dragon Age France, and Dragon Age Marshes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then, like, what's the next? The next one's supposed to be set in the one place. Or is it Orly?
Orly, the French place. Yeah.
Who's the cool French guy? The mage. The cool. He's got a cool mustache.
Dorian. So we're going to Tevinter.
We're going to Tevinter.
Orly is French, and we're going to Tevinter instead.
Yeah. So we're going to Tevinter in the next one, as far as I'm aware. But again, I'm not sure if they're just going to increase the map size and have like all of them, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just have to kind of like wait and see on that side. But like, I don't know. For me,
I'm still fully putting my clown shoes on. I am fully putting the clown shoes on.
Are you hyped?
When they came live with like, oh, like this is now like it's been announced. My reblog was literally, I can't wait to be so disappointed by this, because I was just like so happy for it to be happening, but at the same time I'm just like, don't break my heart again.
No.
Don't do it again. But I will still show up full on clown shoes on.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I just hope that they actually do something a bit more intelligent with pulling your choices over, because like I think what happened was, it was Dragon Age 1 and 2 was 360, and then Inquisition was like Xbox One. So I think it must have been fine for everyone who had a PC, but see, to get your save from the 360, you couldn't do it. You had to like upload your save onto like a website where it was like the Inquisition Keep website, and then you had to check all your choices.
You had to do that as well, and it was a nightmare.
Fuck! I remember I couldn't play Inquisition for the longest time because the servers were down. So like I couldn't transfer anything, and they hadn't sorted it yet, so you could just design your own. Because
Yeah.
that's what I also did. Like I tried to do as much as I could in the like I never played the DLC. Like the first time I played through the trilogy, I didn't do any of the DLC in Origins, didn't do any of the DLC in 2, and then did just started Inquisition. But I played all the DLC for Inquisition, and that was good fun. But like
It was.
there was lots of wee things I noticed that were added because I'd missed out the DLC in the other two games, and that's something that like worked with Mass Effect as well. I always played all the Mass Effect DLCs because it's like if the next game registered that you'd got the DLC, there might be a chance of a wee cameo or a wee something extra
Yeah.
or that kind of thing. And that's what I quite liked about the like. I'm surprised there hasn't been like a Dragon Age Legendary Edition in the same way that there has been like for Mass Effect, where they've like remastered one, like remastered two, and they've kind of kept three as it is because it was pretty recent.
Weren't they rumored to be doing that though?
That would be really cool. Although I don't know how you look at Dragon Age 1 and what it is. Have the game that needs the most work in the middle, arguably,
Yeah.
and then have something completely different for like I mean, it is significantly different how Inquisition works from like a combat perspective and everything like
Yeah.
that. Inquisition's combat is fine. Dragon Age 2's combat's the worst in my book, but
Dragon Age 2 combat is button mash, and it's also
yeah.
the result of EA buying BioWare. So that was.
Yeah. And to be honest, that actually speaks to like see the development for Dragon Age Inquisitions, Andromeda, and Anthem. All of that was impacted because EA flat out said you're using Frostbite, the engine. You're using the
The engine,
Frostbite
yeah.
engine. So like you had all these systems built up over like other games, and they had to try and package them up for like the newer games, which didn't go particularly well, funnily enough. See, well, the thing is, I like Andromeda, right? I am waiting for Andromeda to go on sale on Steam because I really want to play through Andromeda again because it's annoyingly good that we don't actually have a proper ending to it. But
Mm-hmm.
like Dragon Age, sorry, not Dragon Age, Mass Effect Andromeda captured the vibe of Mass Effect 1 better than any of the other games. Because, like, Mass Effect 1 was all about kind of like establishing the world and you had that kind of exploration. And then 2 and 3 were like trying to ramp up the kind of space opera type vibe. Whereas Andromeda, like, the idea was that the people who went to Andromeda had like left prior to Mass Effect 2 starting, and
Mm-hmm.
they'd been traveling all this time, and it was a completely new world, new species to fight and befriend and all this kind of jazz. And it was just a good game. I played it like I think I played it after all the fixes because on release there was like a lot of issues with like animation and like just facial glitches and like texture pop-ins and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but again, that's like as I was learning, there's quite a lot that went into the development cycle that wasn't that great. But it impacted Inquisition as well, and that's why there's
Did.
quite a lot of like weird, like there's a lot of weird janky systems in both games because they had to try and move some of their stuff over and try to fit it into Frostbite. Um, made all the more worse when you get to Anthem, of course.
Which, yeah, I was. Just because you mentioned that, it set me off in a little research here in the background. I was checking to see who made Thief 3 and Thief 4, which are arguably
Mm,
the weaker games. It's not EA, it was Eidos
Montreal.
Montreal.
Yeah.
So, and I was looking at that because I remember when Thief 3 came out, one of the big things that happened was you no longer had access to rope arrows.
Mm.
Like, you couldn't climb anymore. You couldn't do all the things that you were able to do in 1998. And I was like, why are we going backwards in terms of what we could do in this game? And it was to fit the engine they were using. and I'm just making sure it wasn't the Frostbite one. It wasn't, but yeah, I was looking at that going, the limitations of some of the stuff that gets put on things is just kind of, I don't know, like EA saying you must use this. You can really see, what it impacted it.
Oh,
You can really
definitely.
see what it impacted the games, and you can see the same with other developers. Like, oh, you must use this engine, and it's
Yeah.
usually to the detriment of what the genre of the game is.
And I think that's one of the things is like, a publisher throws that curveball. How it then impacted all of the decision making, like throughout
Yeah,
like particularly Anthem, because I was having a wee bit of a
I
research
have
into.
never played Anthem.
Oh fuck,
Just full disclosure,
that's
I've seen
don't
people
bother.
tearing it to pieces, but I've
Oh
never
yeah,
played it.
like the thing was the general premise of the game sounds really cool. Like
Sounds
you're
good.
you're on a really really hostile alien planet. The only people that leave the outposts are people who are trained to use like cool exosuits that can fly, right?
Yeah.
Not a bad like thing for a game, something you can kind of get excited about. But then they just, I think what they were trying to do is they were trying to have a third part of the kind of BioWare brand, but they didn't want it to be related to the kind of RPG-ness of Dragon Age or Mass Effect.
Yeah.
So they were trying to make like a co-op action game, live service, and for some reason, because why play to your strengths or anything like that. But like I mean, fair play to them. They were trying to chart new territory, and they did it, but then the kind of like Casey Hudson left and a bunch of other people left and writers came in and out the project, and it looks like the team that like this kind of senior team there just wouldn't make a decision to the point where your flying exosuit game having developers both remove and then re-add the flight mechanics several times throughout development, and
A major core part of the game.
a core part of the game and the reason the game was signed off on by by the heads of like an EA and stuff like that. It was like it's nuts. Is fallen to life. EA told them to make a live service game. BioWare didn't have any XP in it. Quite literally, there was like to the point where I think a year like before release or whatever, they hadn't really tackled the looter shooter thing. And one of
Yeah.
the things I also found quite interesting that I learned is that they were forbidden from talking about Destiny during development. As in they saw Anthem as a competitor to Destiny. And yeah, Fallen to Life's just confirmed it there. It was supposed to be this rival to Destiny, but they actually prevented any sort of like discussion around Destiny. I imagine probably from a like, oh, we don't want to be a Destiny copy, but
Yeah.
you might
You
have
still need to
learned
discuss it.
something. Yeah, you might have learned something about your competitors if you'd had a wee look.
That's like
Um,
the I forget the name of the author, but she says that she doesn't read other romance because she doesn't want to plagiarize from people. And then the romance books she puts out are atrocious. And it's like because she's literally never read the genre, but she thinks she can do it without doing
mm,
any research and without being part of the community. And it's that kind of you can't distance yourself like you can't say, well, I don't want to copy someone or I don't want to do this, but you still have to do your research. You still have to be part of what you're doing. Um,
and I mean, isn't a lot of kind of romance like there's a lot of like tropes that you just follow through on in romance.
yeah,
Like you can obviously add your own spin to things, but like that's a good point from Lysander Salamander. The whole reinventing the wheel thing, like you know, constantly
you
trying to
don't
come
have
up
to
with an
remake the
original,
wheel.
yeah, like constantly trying to come up with an original idea. And to be honest, that is a thing that I thought BioWare fell into when it came to the final Mass Effect game. They were like the it was almost like they'd built up this space opera. They had like the whole galaxy coming together. Like Mass
Mm-hmm.
Effect. Mass Effect 2 is about like Mass Effect 1's the kind of unknown big bad, and you only really learn about the unknown big bad kind of like the last, fifth of the game. Um, And then you get into Mass Effect 2 where it's actually there's another big bad that are doing things, but it turns out the two big bads are kind of related. But you know it's a lot about learning how the galaxy works, learning how the politics of the galaxy works, and what races are involved and all the rest. And then Mass Effect 3 is the big tie-in. It is pulling it all together. All of the species under one banner. We're fighting for the very fate of the universe. And then I feel like some writer at BioWare went, well, we can't give everyone a happy ending. That would suck. So there was a mass amount of kind of controversy
It's the
over.
peak grim dark. If it's
Yeah.
not miserable, it's not serious, and therefore not worthy of praise and acclaim. And
It,
like, it's a real problem that's in a lot of genre fiction as well. If you're
yeah.
not writing, I think of it as the Game of Thrones um
Problem.
problem. And Game of Thrones is built on being grim, dark fantasy. But unfortunately, you now have people trying to emulate that when fantasy is not.
Aye.
There is a period of fantasy that is very grim, dark. But there's a lot of fantasy that's not. And people think fantasy is all just Game of Thrones, and then they get annoyed when there's a comical wizard. Like there's room for more than like just misery. And I think with certain, I think for a while when it was first done, when you had games where everyone dies at the end, I think that twist works once,
Yeah.
and people saw that and thought, "Oh wow, that was a really great twist. I didn't see that coming." And then everyone just started recreating it,
Yeah.
and it becomes really unoriginal. Like the thing that was original because you do it once or twice, and it comes out of nowhere and hits you, and then it gets done to death so much that people just get fed up, and it's not a
Yeah.
twist,
Yeah.
you
I mean, I
know.
think it's like as a Vi the Spy. Sometimes Grimdark's cathartic, but you don't want everything to be the same. And I think
Yeah.
that was the thing. Is like there was a point where Grimdark wasn't the norm, and there was like a lot of like there was the shock value in the kind of Grimdark approach to things. But then as the popularity of Grimdark like endings and worlds kind of became popular, there was just this like pivot to now there's like no fucking hope whatsoever.
Well,
And
now they're all writing specifically to one set algorithm because
mm,
the way content was made at that time was when they were figuring out how algorithms and formula, because there's always been formulas. There's always, I hate when people say, things have become so formulaic now. There's always formulas. There's
yeah,
always narrative beats that you have to hit. There's always tropes that you use. Like there is a set way you write stories and do things. But the way that like the Netflix, they don't write based on a lot of their stuff isn't based on like good story structure. It's based on how well a story does with the algorithm,
mm,
which is why they cancel a lot of things too, because they're like, well, this isn't doing well, so it must just be that no one wants this content. We'll just keep making crime, murder stuff constantly because they're feeding an algorithm. They're not telling stories. They're feeding an algorithm. And it's the same with a lot of game developers and a lot of, they started doing look, this one thing did really well, therefore we must make this same thing over and over and over. And then they wonder like, no one's buying our stuff. We need to go darker because the twist has been done, so now we need to make it as horrible and realistic as possible. And it's like, that's not why people play
yeah,
games. It's not why people read fiction. It's not why people watch movies. Sometimes you want to have your heart
ripped
obliterated.
out. Yeah, that's fine.
Sometimes you want your heart to be removed from your chest and for someone to stand on it,
Mm,
but not all the time.
yeah,
Sometimes I'm really excited for the new Dungeons and Dragons movie, which
yeah.
was a sentence I never thought I would say.
We're gonna
But
be
I'm
edging the
actually
bard.
yeah. But it was like I was watching it. I was watching the stuff I've seen for it so far, and I'm going, that actually looks like it might be fun.
Yeah, and but not Marvel fun, and I think that's another important thing. Like for me, like I feel maybe a wee bit of here's a tangent for you folks, but the the Marvel formula of how to make people laugh, the whole he's right behind me, isn't he? Like,
Yeah.
or well that happened, like like all that, like that's very
Quick,
formulaic, like
quick,
that's
quick, quick. How
yeah,
quick. How to be witty and quippy without actually saying much.
What was the fucking thing that I watched recently that was like it was trying so hard to be quippy? What, it wasn't it wasn't Persuasion. Was it Persuasion? Yeah, it was Persuasion.
It was
Fucking
Persuasion.
Jesus.
Persuasion was trying to be Fleabag of Jane Austen, and that's unfair to Fleabag because Fleabag is actually good.
Yeah.
And but it knows its genre, and Fleabag was very original for what it was. There's been 1,000,001 kind of like self-referential, fourth wall breaking comedy since then, and I saw a really good article on that, and it was I can't remember what's the author who wrote Fleabag, the writer.
Is it Phoebe?
Yes, Phoebe
Wallace-Bridgers, maybe.
Yes, I think so. And it was they were talking about how she
Waller-Bridge.
basically started this whole Waller-Bridge. They started talking about how she basically did she started this whole genre of that kind of off to the side fourth wall breaking, and how she must now look at the world and think to herself, I have become death, destroyer of world, because now everyone is doing it and they're not doing it well. They're thinking they can copy her when what they're doing is just making a really half-assed, like, it's not the same. You have to have the energy behind it. You can't just copy paste it and have the same thing happen. You have to have it work within the story you're telling.
Yeah.
And for a lot of it bugs me a lot because there's a lot of people that are people look down on genre fiction a lot because they're like, oh well, it's not the same as like high literary prose or whatever. And they're like, oh, it's so formulaic. And it's like, yes, because people enjoy being able to predict things. They enjoy having their tropes. They enjoy having, that's what people enjoy. They enjoy the expectation of what's happening. Yeah. You can occasionally break the mold and do something original, and it will be fantastic. But you cannot then just replicate that by copying and pasting it onto a format for which it will not work. Which is what happened with Persuasion. They tried to make Fleabag work within a Jane Austen world, which arguably could work, just not with Persuasion.
Just make it the same story, make it modern, and you've pretty much got something working. Maybe not Persuasion, but definitely Jane Austen world. Like, you can imagine a Fleabag. We've spoken about this. We're getting off topic now, Joy. But you can imagine a Fleabag type thing with Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice. You could totally see a kind of Fleabag approach to that.
You could.
Not sure how it would work with the interactions with Darcy, mind you, but it would work better her having asides while her sisters are talking in the background, like that kind of thing. But anyway, sorry. Back to Dragon Age. What is your favourite Dragon Age game?
I'm gonna say 2. I'm gonna say the Dragon Age 2, not for the game mechanics, but because of the story. I think it's got the strongest story out of them because that was all the money they had. They could put money into the story. They couldn't put money into anything else. And I love Varric. Yeah. I will go to my grave protesting the fact that Varric is not a romanceable character because Varric can get it as far as I'm concerned.
Varric is.
Let me romance the hairy chest dwarf. Just let me.
Varric the fuckable dwarf.
Yes.
I like that there was continuity between 2 and 3, Inquisition, like in regards to he's also there as a companion character, because I feel like that's one of the things that Dragon Age Origins into 2 kind of throws you off a little bit, because it does have some crossover but not loads. And then at least there was that kind of continuity. Like, I mean, if you had to take one character from Dragon Age 2 into 3, it would have been Varric.
Yes.
I've forgotten the name of the mage guy, though. Gaius? No? Mage boy. The one who...
Anders.
What? Anders.
Hello there.
Why was that say? Is his first name Gary? Is his name Gary Anders? Or... I don't think so. I don't fucking know his name.
The guy that's got the demon inside of him.
Yeah, Anders.
That's Anders.
Yeah, that's Anders. Okay, why was I thinking Gaius? Don't know. But yeah, like, did they do anything with him in Inquisition? I don't remember it.
I don't think so. I think because Anders you have the option to either let him live or let him die. I think they didn't know what to do with that, even when they let
Yeah.
you log your choices. I think they were kind of like, ah, well, we've kind of fucked the elf and the Templar storyline, so we're just gonna gloss over this. Like, I think that was
Yeah.
my main issue that they had with that one. Um,
Half of Dragon Age Inquisition only happens because Anders does a domestic terrorism. Like, and we were talking about this earlier, but like the weird progression of the Templar versus Mage thing, like
yeah,
Dragon Age Origins has quite a good that you had a really good kind of term for it, trope wise. You were saying it was like the all powerful
it
with
was the
like
all powerful sorcerer magic user is grounded by their, um, their the tank. The magical
yeah.
user gets grounded by the person that deals with the physical mundane and the violence of the world, and that's a big thing in a lot of fantasy tropes. Is you usually have high magic paired with swordman. And it tends to be that they balance each other really well, and it's to save one from the other, basically. And Dragon Age kind of took that and pissed it into the wind after the first one, and it wasn't done well. Like they could have done
It's,
it well, but they didn't, and
it's
it's
just like
really quite upsetting how badly the Mage and Templar. This is there's going to be a lot of old people. If you follow me long enough, you're going to remember the discourse over this. It's still ongoing. There are still occasionally I see on Tumblr there's still discourse like Mage rights in the background.
we're gonna
Um,
reignite it.
and
I'm gonna
it's
turn your inbox into a nightmare.
so bring it on. It's already
Already is,
it's
yeah.
already a bin fire. It's fine. But in Dragon Age One, it was kind of like, oh yeah, it's there because magic users are susceptible to demons, and that's why they are needed. That's why we're bonded to them, and it kind of plays on the kind of the wheel of time where you have the Aes Sedai and the Gaidens, the wardens, and I mean it's a really common trope in high fantasy, and it has it works well with RPGs because it means you get to balance your party with magic and tank and whatever. And I the way they took the storyline was just we're trying to make a point but we don't want to come down too hard on either side.
Mm.
And if you're doing something as controversial as the whole domestic terrorism of Anders but also the fact of his actions were that of a desperate man who's been enslaved for most of his life by a system that views him as a monster.
Mm.
You have to take a stance. You cannot be like, oh, it's morally like you can't have
Yeah.
like it's not a good look.
Well,
It's
that was the
you either have to decide you're going to be an arsehole or you're going to have to be actually this is a problematic thing that we should be looking at. But they didn't do
yeah.
that. They gave you the option to go, yeah, that sucks, and just kind of walk away.
They missed the opportunity, and I'm just thinking of maybe a way that they could fix it. But if they had the mages being more evil in Dragon Age 2, I would have understood it maybe being a harder choice in Dragon Age Inquisition. Because I think that it's the main menu screen in Dragon Age Inquisition where you've got mages marching down
Yeah.
one side and the Templars march, and then you press new game and the thing explodes, which I thought was really cool when I started playing it. But the the mages are too persecuted in Dragon Age 2 to make them non-sympathetic, or to make the Templars more sympathetic in Dragon Age Inquisition, because every single quest in Dragon Age 2 involving the Templars is they're either like killing random mages for sport, or
Basically, we've gone from we're protecting these people from themselves to I now hunt them for sport.
well, it's it's either they're hunting them for sport or they've pushed one mage to the brink where something has snapped inside the mage and they've lashed out for whatever reason.
And
And
then
I
it's a
think
case of, oh well, look how volatile all mages are because
yeah,
because of their actions. Don't look at why they did the action, just look at how they reacted. Like
yeah. But no, I find that like it just I've never sided with the Templars in the because I think you get two very different quests though if you side with the Templars or the mages in Inquisition, because like you go to two different places, don't you?
Yeah.
And I can't remember that at all, but like I'm pretty sure the Templars end up when before you leave the first camp area, because you go to the castle, don't you?
Yeah.
And you either do the mage quest or the Templar quest, and the opposing faction sides with the big cunt that's trying to kill you, who's also in Origins, and I only learned that when I played the DLC. I found that so weird. It's like the random dude from a DLC in Origins ends up being the big
The
bad
big bad.
in
Yeah.
Inquisition. Just didn't exist through Dragon Age 2.
I'm sorry, I just thought I have to point out Fall into Life's comment there is if you're naughty will steal your soul, but that's totally a moral neutral action.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
literally what it is. It's like we're gonna like encase you inside your own mind, we're going to gentle you, but you know, we're the good guys.
Yeah. And the thing is like the only guy who's former Templar before he joins the Inquisition, the guy Cullen,
Colin.
um, who's reasonably sound in Inquisition. I don't think he's much of a prick, but like, see if he'd been. He's not in Dragon Age 2, is he? He's not.
He is.
Is he?
He is. He's one of the guards who helps put down the mages in the circle in Kirkwall. And you
Ah.
get to talk to him a little bit, and you can convince him to let the mages go, I think, if I
Yeah.
remember. But Cullen is interesting because they kind of use Cullen's trauma. They use the personal to justify the universal. And that's
Yeah.
not how that works. Because I can understand Cullen having issue with mages. I can fully understand he's been psychologically tortured by mages that got demon possessed. I could fully understand a character like Cullen having problems and acting in a morally grey area where he either gets redeemed or he goes straight villain. But they use look at what happened to Cullen to be like this is why all mages like they
Yeah.
use the sympathy for Cullen to justify the actions
the,
of all
the,
Templars.
the
And it's
sweeping
like
mage.
I highly doubt every single Templar has been tortured in the circumstances in which Cullen
Yeah.
was. And if they were, the solution is therapy, not mass enslavement. Like that's like it's a really weird way they did that. It was like they were relying on you having the emotional connection with that character to turn around and say, well, actually, I can see why this is justified. And the thing is, there are
Yeah.
people like that in real life,
Yeah.
and it's as evil in real life as it is in the game.
I think like it's just interesting how like after a certain point the dynamic of mages and Templar actually does kind of fall off. Like it seems to be a very like Act 1 problem. And then you get to the keep, and then like suddenly the world opens up, and you start to do a bit more with the fucking map. Jesus Christ, the map. Do you remember the map, Joy? Do you remember wanting to do a mission but not being allowed to because you've got to wait 3 real-time fucking hours to do a mission?
Yes. That was when I remember when they pitched that. I remember thinking, well, that's really cool. There's time sensitive because, like, if you let me with a game, I will dick around and I will not do the main quest. Like, I will be
Yeah.
like, ooh, side quest,
Like,
and that can be to the detriment of the plot because if you're trying to create a world where there's a sense of urgency, you do want people to stay on track. Unlike my Skyrim playthroughs where I basically just go,
what
I'm gonna go
dragons?
pick flowers. And but with Dragon Age, I feel like they were trying to create that sense of like you have to be in control. You are the head inquisitor. You are like
Yeah.
you have to be aware of time management and managing people and doing all these things, which could have been done really well. But instead, it was just pissing annoying because it
But
was like, oh, you have to wait three real time hours, not 3 game hours.
yeah.
3 real time hours before you can do this quest. Oh, and then if you wait to do that, you won't be able to do this other quest.
Yeah.
Which again is like it's veering into that kind of real life realm of like you have to pick and choose your battles. That's not why I play games.
Yeah. Funnily enough, one of the best mods and most downloaded mods is skipping all of that shit. Like,
Yeah.
because no one wants to wait for that. I think the only problem is there was some quests that you could, like, send people away to do and just have it on a constant loop to pick up like material and stuff like that. So you could literally just farm that if that wasn't in the game. But I still feel like, oh, we need 3 hours of your time to unlock the next story mission. It's like,
Why is that just going back to farming? Why is the Inquisitor the one going into the Heartlands to pick elf fruit?
Fuck if I know.
Why is the Inquisitor being made to grind?
It's
You
training.
have people for that.
So here's another one about Dragon Age, which I find particularly frustrating. But the dragons, the dragons,
Yeah.
the dragons in Dragon Age, particularly in Inquisition. Every time I go and try and do the quest of defeating the dragons, I feel fucking terrible. Like, every single dragon is in a cozy little part of the map by themselves with their youngling dragons, and you have to fucking run in if you want to do this quest and just kill them all. And it's like,
To me, it feels like you're just chasing down an endangered species.
yeah, that's what it made me feel like. It's like, oh fuck, we need to add dragons in our game. I know what we'll do. We'll just have
we called
to
it Dragon
kill...
Age, but there's no dragons, so we're gonna put some dragons in, and then we're gonna make you feel really bad about killing them. And it reminded me a little bit of there was the Belgrade series, which was it's a fantasy sci-fi series from the 70s, 80s. Anyway, it was basically supposed to be a send up of fantasy, and then David Eddings got really popular, and he did his whole thing. And they did how there's only one dragon left in the world because they got hunted to extinction, and it's occasionally the characters, you'll hear the dragon just crying because it can't have any more children, and that hit me really, really hard. And I'm going, they could have done something like that with Dragon Age. They could have been, it's the last dragon, and you don't have to go hunt it. Instead, they just went full poacher. It was full on, just right. We're on safari. We're gonna go murder the.
There's two in the worst. There's two dragons in particular that made me feel fucking terrible. I was the you're Anakin and the dragons are the younglings, exactly. By the spy. The like in the what's the first area that you're in? You get in and you're exploring the first area. It's also got the I can't fucking remember it. It's the main bit.
I don't remember either.
It's
the main
big
part of the map.
Aye, the main green bit. The hinterlands.
The hinterlands.
There we go. I can always trust Toasted Stars to sort me out. In fact, Toasted Stars is my on-stream encyclopedia for all things gaming. But yeah, so it's hinterlands, because hinterlands, if you want to kill the dragon, you've got to go to like the top right of the map. You have to go through a cave. Like, this dragon could not be trying harder not to interfere.
Business at the corner of the map. The dragon's not there. The dragon's like, oh, there's a big green hole in the sky. I'm just gonna sleep. Yeah,
exactly. And then there's another bit, and like one of the things that I did quite like about the individual maps that you could explore, where you can like go and explore an area, is like if you encountered an area of that map that you couldn't explore yet, you could like plant a flag, and then you could actually get your army to, you know, find a way across, like build a bridge, that kind of thing. That was kind of good fun. But so there's one in like a snow area, you can order your army to build a bridge, and then it's purely to go across and kill all the dragons on the other side, right? There is nothing there quest orientated at all. And there's it's like 3 Colosseum type places. And the furthest away Colosseum, you have to drop down to fight this dragon. You drop down into its nest, it starts screaming, and its little younglings are trying to defend the mum, and you're just there fucking killing them all. It makes you feel like a monster.
It makes me think of it's the Michael Webb sketch, where they're all standing there in the Nazi uniforms, and they're kind of standing there.
Yeah, are we the baddies?
Going, are we the baddies? Are we the bad guys here? That makes me feel like there's probably a bunch of like the Templars and the Inquisition people standing there going, are we? Is this?
The thing is, you're not even given the courtesy of like, oh, this dragon's like, you know, killed a whole bunch of like. I mean, I'm pretty sure one dragon kills
it's a danger to the local area. We should wipe it out. Like the basic premise of like any justification for a kill quest. We're not even given that. It's literally just, do you want to go invade a dragon's den and kill it for the sake of killing it?
I think the only one that sticks out in my mind is like a dragon killed one goat. And that's the justification for the mission to go and fucking.
How valuable are goats in Dragon Age?
I was gonna say
we've been thinking this whole time. Is there some sort of goat cabal that we're not aware of?
crowd coin control is for what we do when we play Dark Souls. Sorry, Warto. Basically, people can muck around with my Dark Souls game. We're going to be doing that on Tuesday. So that's why you see it come up as a kind of redemption thing. You don't need to worry about it just now. Unless
What
you
about
want to.
on Tuesday when you can completely destroy Eye's game?
Yeah, watch me pull my hair out. Exactly. But no, I think like I'm interested to see where they go with Dragon Age. What have they named it?
Uh,
The is it Wolf's Bane Wolf, Wolf Bane, Wolf Man, Dread
Dragon Age
Wolf.
4 Dreadwolf.
Hey, there's
I'm
Toasted
interested
Stars
to
again
see
with
it.
Dread Wolf.
I'm interested to see how they try and fix the fuckery they made of the writing.
Oh,
Or if they will, or if they'll just ignore the mistakes they made and just keep making new ones. That's what I'm interested to see.
thank you for the bicep
well-
curls, many arts of night. Okay, I'm working on it. The Dreadman Bane Wolf, exactly. Like that fucking annoying elf prick. What's his name?
Solus.
You can see I can name any character in Mass Effect. I don't remember anyone. Cassandra's pretty cool.
Eggman.
I like Cassandra.
Eggman. I wish to crack the egg. Fall into life. That was literally a lot of like when the game came out and the big twist at the end happened. Everyone was just like, "Man, fuck the egg, fuck that guy." It was just like, and it wasn't even a satisfying twist as far as I was concerned.
To be honest, it doesn't make the it doesn't make the next time you play it more enjoyable knowing. Like I still get like, and this is kind of back to I suppose Knights of the Old Republic 2, where like Kreia, you had that wee bit of like she's still quite
you're
fun.
playing the whole game just like, and fuck you, like you're
Yeah.
being nice to all your other companions, and then Solus starts talking.
I
to
don't
you,
give
just
Solus.
Like, did someone say something?
Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't give Solus the fucking time of day when I'm replaying the game because it's like why should I spend any time getting to know you? But no, Cassandra's normally my romance, just because I like women that can kick the shit out of me.
That's fair.
It's the same reason that like in
It's the same reason I would also like to romance Cassandra, but I can't.
Oh yeah, of course, because they locked her, didn't they?
They did.
Which is
They
really
locked her.
weird.
Mm-hmm.
I also thought it was weird that like you could marry, is it Liliana? The really cool master assassin woman. Just
Who is currently running the entire chantry.
oh
Seems
yeah.
like she has other stuff going on, but okay.
Yeah, just a bit. And then of course I forget that like the DLC for Dragon Age Inquisition, you had you can dissolve the Inquisition. You can start the Inquisition. You can see that the Inquisition belongs to whoever. Like you've got different. I think there's like 4 different options at the end of the last DLC that like properly ends the game, and it's set like several years after the main quest.
Which shouldn't be a DLC thing.
Yeah, it's like, was that the ending you planned? Like, I feel like DLC should always like feed into the game's story, like from before the ending. You end at the ending. You don't then flog the rest of the ending on DLC. And in fact, it's the one thing that Mass Effect didn't really do. Well, except when they released DLC for fixing the fucking end. Well, they didn't even fix the ending. They tried to explain the ending, which wasn't great. Hey, Archfactor, thanks for gifting a sub to Lysander. Lysander, I hope you enjoy your emotes. But yeah, like it's funny when it comes to like Mass Effect DLC. Like I played all of the Mass Effect DLCs and I kind of like religiously got them and played them like right away. Because it's fun doing like runs and seeing like who got added. Because like in Mass Effect 2, there's like a suicide mission at the end, and you know whether characters are loyal or anything like that factors into whether or not they'll survive. And you can actually save all of them. So it becomes this really cool thing of like you've built up all of your characters like loyalty, you've done all their side missions and stuff like that, and then you get into this one final push and it's epic as shit. Suicide Mission as a soundtrack is like it's one of the best tracks in the whole Mass Effect kind of score. Uh, but then, like in 3, you've got all the DLC that feed into the actual war that's happening as well. So that's quite interesting and cool. And then of course you get to the end of Mass Effect 3, and everything went to shit to the point where I know quite a lot of people take the last DLC to be released for Mass Effect 3 is called Citadel, and
Yeah.
like it's a nice fun one. Like you have the first half of it is like a really like it's kind of silly, like, but it's like mission based and it's very focused and there is actually a threat. The second half of the DLC, you host a house party with all your companions across all the games, and you can get shit faced, and it's like magical. Like if you just imagine it in like Dragon Age Inquisition, if like there was a party at the keep and you could just like almost like the end of Inquisition, but
Yeah.
but not. Like you
Just
can
invite
actually
everyone and tell Solus to go fuck himself.
exactly, and like there's actually points throughout the like throughout the evening you can like progress the party to the next bit. So you go around and you chat to everyone, and then you're like, I want to make it like more quiet and relaxed, or I want to make it more rowdy, and you can have like a total shit faced party, or you can have like a chill one, and then at the end of the party. You basically are going into doing the last mission. It's like your last shore leave before the final mission of the
Hmm.
game. So many so many people go, that's the real ending of the game, and I'll just
That's
imagine
where
that
it ends.
that is where it ends. But yeah, I'm still bitter about Mass Effect 3's ending. It was fucking terrible. I don't know what they're
Well,
gonna
then,
do
like,
for 4. What the fuck are they gonna do for Mass Effect 4? How can you redeem it? Can you? I don't know.
you could do a total retcon.
You could. I don't know how. And
You do JK, that was an alternate timeline. This is the actual story.
oh, like the thing that annoyed me the most about fucking Mass Effect 3 was like you have the bad ending, but then you have this awful, awful bit tacked on to the end where there's like a boy and his grandpa looking up at the stars. They've got like a telescope, and the wee boy goes, "Tell me another story about the shepherd." Like you've been playing as Commander Shepard the entire
Hmm.
game, so it's like they kind of like there must be a term for it, but like they take everything that you've played and like done and reduce it to a story that's being told well after you've done the story. So like
Yeah.
the distance that they create when doing that also fucking sucked. I don't know who the hell signed off on that.
It's
Like,
a popular. So a lot of people who are currently watching the Witcher series don't know that we are being told the story from Jaskier's perspective, because in the books, Jaskier is narrating his friend's life, and that's why so much of it is unreliable, because Jaskier is an unreliable narrator for all. So you don't actually know what's true and what's not. But a lot of people that are watching Netflix are not aware that that is coming,
yeah,
and they're going to be so angry if they do decide to go that the series ends with Jaskier as an old man telling about the story about how the books
yeah.
end. I'm not going to say it because some people may not have read them, but it is a popular thing to be like, it's almost like, and it was just a dream, but no, it was just a
It's
story,
yeah,
and it's
well,
like
yeah.
that.
And to be honest, that's a really good like parallel. To be honest, because it's 100% like, oh, it was all just a dream. Like the way, like when you when you hear that, and like the problem is the wee boy in Mass Effect 3, and I've not told you the worst part about the Mass Effect 3 ending. You've probably heard about it before, Joy, but like the the ending to Mass Effect 3 gives you 3 choices, the culmination of all the choices you've made, and it's basically kill all AI or robots in the world. So that includes the big bad, but also includes all of your robot friends that you've made along the way,
Hmm.
as well as an entire species of entirely like they're called Geth. You've then got control, which I mentioned to you, where it's like the human terrorist organization, like literally the human like supremacist organization, have been trying to control the Reapers. So you don't really want to do that either, unless you're properly going for like an evil human supremacist like playthrough. And then you've got like a really naff centrist one where it like combines human and like AI robots to basically be the same fucking thing, and it's it's like it's the if you want everyone to live ending while also not being great. But before you get all this, you get an AI of a wee child who fucking tells you these options, and it's the same child that goes, "Tell me another story about shit." Like, it's the same voice actor. Like, they hired one child, and honestly, this condescending little fuck basically says, "Oh yeah, pick your favorite color, because that's the color that we're gonna slide at the end of the game's kind of like showreel, showing you what happened." It's just I've worked myself up. It's terrible.
So, as Arvid's saying, like if you're going to do that, I'm telling the story, then make it clear from the start. And the video game sounds like a horrible medium to do that. The thing is, Dragon Age Dragon Age 2 is being told from Varric's
From
perspective,
Varric's
and they are
perspective.
open with that, and it works really well.
Yeah.
To be like, this is why this is bonkers and crazy, because you're getting told this by a dwarf who writes erotica. Like,
Yeah.
it's full on, like, that was how they embraced the whole. This is why you can't trust anything that happens in this game, because you don't know if Varric's a reliable narrator or not. And I really liked that. I really enjoyed that they were open with that, and it wasn't a reveal at the end, and it's just Varric sitting there reading a tome.
Because he's getting interrogated.
Cassandra interjecting, going,
yeah.
"What? Get to the point. Like, I don't care about these romances. I don't care about, like, tell me how this happened." And Varric's going, "I'm getting there." And I really enjoyed that. I thought that was really well done.
It's weirdly, it's the same kind of thing as like The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same kind of thing. It's like, because you're upfront about it, it's actually quite nice. But yeah, I think it was frustrating getting to the end of Mass Effect and having that, like, it was almost like they were trying to make it a legacy thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is a legend, but like, you'd been experiencing it firsthand throughout the entire game, and making all the choices that it felt a bit.
And then the choice at the end is reduced to what a child wants to happen.
Pretty much, yeah. And the child's a dickhead, so like, just made me hate children more, to be perfectly honest. That's a lie. I don't hate children. I just hate that child.
It's that one specific voice actor.
No, like, I'm not joking. It is literally it's a child AI, right? It is literally a Deus Ex Machina, right? It is. Honestly, and it was just like a fucking pick your color. Like, I don't know. I felt cheated. But yeah, that's Mass Effect for you.
Shitpost calligrapher. I think twists like that piss me off because it parallels the in real life ADHD thing, where you think you know what the process is and what's going on, and surprise, no, you don't. That is, it can feel like you're being lied to a lot of the time, which for some people is a real kind of like turn off for certain narratives. Whereas some people are like, oh wow, that's really clever, I never saw that coming. And then there's some people who are sitting there going, I put so much energy into trying to keep track of everything and trying to make sense of everything, and then you just pull it out from under me and make it a mockery. And that does piss people off. That does.
I learned another symptom of ADHD the other day. Actually, it was really, really quite
and not
interesting.
From me.
not from you. This is like, I totally exploded myself. Turns out having a dump truck ass is a symptom of ADHD. So I'm just talking shit, but it's also true.
Yeah, I mean,
should everyone's like, oh right, now I definitely know I've got ADHD. Sorry, I caught everyone off guard with that.
You did. I can literally hear Mothman cackling himself in the next room, just absolutely just hee-hawing.
Love it. If I can make Mothman laugh, I can make anyone laugh. I've succeeded in my stream.
Everyone's currently going like this, going.
Gluteus snackiest, fuck's sake. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting where BioWare go with both, like, the continuation of Mass Effect. This will be the 5th Mass Effect game and the 4th Dragon Age game, and it's weird. Like, and this is actually one of the things that I feel like this could be a totally other conversation, Joy. But like one of the things that I find really interesting, like about like the Warhammer universe, like particularly like Warhammer 40k, right? There's plenty of
Mm-hmm.
people in chat who know about Warhammer 40k. I have learned way too much stuff from these people about Warhammer 40k, and I've also dipped my toe in. And yes, I'm looking at you, Archfactor. But like the amazing thing about Warhammer 40k is like I end up kind of like jealous of it, right? Because I feel like there's so many like novels and spin-offs and like games about tiny little aspects of
Yeah.
Warhammer 40k. Like where the fuck is that for Dragon Age? Where the hell is that for like Mass Effect? Why hasn't there been a spin-off game about
The,
the Krogan in a Mass Effect? Well,
yeah.
it's like why now? Obviously, licensing and IP and everything like that comes into it, but like if you look at how like Warhammer 40k just gets like there are so many. I mean, there's a fucking game that looks like Doom. There's a game that is like an RPG coming out, and it all touches on totally different aspects of like the 40k world. And I know that it's hard to have then a unifying brand. I get that, but like it just seems to me like I'm just slightly jealous of it because like I would happily have more Mass Effect content. I would happily have more Halo content. I would like. I mean, like the whole thing about like Warhammer 40k is like it's almost deliberately a fucking mess. But
Yeah.
like it's it's good like that though, because that means you can just fucking make up any old story. You can make up what happened to some legion fucking fighting on this
Kind of
random
like the
ass
Star
world.
Wars Expanded Legacy.
Yeah,
The legend, the legend series as they now call it. You can pick and choose what you read.
yeah,
Unfortunately, you are forced to, if you read the latter books, you are forced to accept what some crackpot author decided was canon.
yeah,
But
yeah.
like, funny you were saying that. I went and looked because I knew that Dragon Age novels existed. There's 5 of them, and there's some comics, and there's also apparently a web series. But I know for a fact that the Dragon Age novels are terrible. They were written by people who hate fantasy.
Hmm.
So that might be why we do not see more of it, because they're like, oh, we did the thing and
Oh,
it didn't make money, and it's like, well, yeah, you did the thing wrong.
I feel, Joy, you have a geographical advantage to this, but Sir Lancelot has just announced a quiz. Name all the American states beginning with the letter M. Whoever names the most wins. Um,
Uh, Minnesota,
I was going to say
Mississippi,
you live there.
Maine, Massachusetts,
I've got Maine, Minnesota, Montana.
Montana,
Mm, fucking hell. Ma-
Maryland. Yeah, I will
oh,
text join you.
Massachusetts. Is that a fucking state? I thought Massachusetts was it not the
Missouri. Yeah,
Missouri.
Michigan.
Okay, I feel like people are just shouting out fucking cities
We're
now.
just crowdsourcing it now, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, we fucked it. See, you've
I'm a
got a.
foreigner here. I don't know anything outside of Minnesota. I've never left. I've been to Florida, and that's about it.
I thought Massachusetts is it not a Commonwealth rather than a state? Is that not? Is it not the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? I don't
Ohio,
know. North
North
Dakota.
Dakota. Tell a lie. I've been to North Dakota more times than I can bloody count because Mothman keeps dragging me back there because his friends live there, and there is nothing to do. It's just college town and drinking. We've been there for like five,
So
6
I was
weeks.
gonna say sounds like there's plenty to do then. But yeah, nah.
So once you hit 35, it's a little bit kind of suspect being in the college student bar, just a wee
What's
bit.
what's the like if I have to go to one state beginning with M, which should be the one?
Minnesota, obviously, because then you can visit me.
Yeah, of course. No. Okay, aside from that.
Obviously.
If you could be in any one of the M states, isn't
I don't
Maine
know.
supposed to be quite nice?
Maine is nice, I think. I've got friends who live in Maine.
Isn't Maine supposed to be quite pretty? Or is that Oregon?
Yeah. I mean, Oregon's gorgeous. Oregon is gorgeous. So Lancelot, why are we getting quizzed? What is is this my citizenship test starting early and they've not told me? What is happening?
Is that something you'd go for?
Yeah, I have to do the citizenship test. Yeah. I'm trying to
Nice.
get my citizenship so that I can have dual citizenship, so I can come and go as I please after we get Mothman's residency in the UK sorted.
That's cool.
So I will eventually be doing a pop quiz on the USA. So that's fun.
That's cool. We can help you revise. We can have like a full episode of the podcast dedicated to like. We'll
Can
call
you
it.
pass the
Oh
questions?
no,
Yeah.
hold on. We're gonna call it Joy Revision.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, that was painful, but I hope folk know who Joy Division are. They better. But no, we'll have
They
that.
should if they're following me from the goth aspect, they should know what Joy Division is. But
Good. That was physically painful. Good. I hope my main goal for any stream that I do is to make you all physically wince at least once. I hope I'm disappointed in that one. No. Sorry. Right. What is okay? So from we're going back to Bioware. I'm trying to keep us really on track today, Joy.
you are trying. You are trying really hard.
I'm trying so goddamn hard. Okay, favorite companion in the first Knights of the Old Republic.
HK-47.
Oh yeah, okay. I was gonna say
I have to. It was just I loved
yeah.
him. For the longest
Meatbag.
time, everyone was just meatbag in my head. That one. 47 was probably my favorite. After that, it was oh my god, I'm gonna look up the name. What was your one?
That's a good question. See, I actually thought Juhani's character was really, really interesting. Like, she's the
Annie's a good one, yeah.
the one that looks like a cat. I liked my cat girls from a young age, but no, no. Let's rephrase
Surprise.
that. Jesus Christ, me being a young age, I might say.
Phrasing is important.
Phrasing. But yeah, I thought Johanni's character was really interesting. I quite liked it's weird. Like, I remember seeing memes about Karth and people really dunking on Karth.
I liked Karth. I don't think he deserved the hate he got.
Yeah, I think it was because people didn't expect to have the "you should talk to your companion" thing appear. So, and of course, like with Karth, he's obviously the first guy that you encounter on your first companion. So he's the first one that you get. Yeah, there's the HK-47 quote. Definition: love is making a shot to the knees of a target 120 kilometers away using an Aratech sniper rifle with a trilite scope. Love is knowing your target, putting them in your targeting reticule, and together achieving a singular purpose against statistically long odds. Karth was a sad little puppy and you wanted him to do well. I just thought he was an alright character. Obviously, he was like kind of grieving because he'd fucked it.
Yeah.
But like, there was there was quite a lot of like I've always quite liked Karth. I thought Bastila was good, although Bastila gets really annoying at a point.
Bastila is really sanctimonious. I was not a fan of Bastila.
Yeah, and it was like there's the proper like I don't know if it's just written to be weird, but see if you try and romance Bastila, it becomes like she shuts down. She doesn't know how to respond to any sort of flirting, which is kind of funny, but also like you're not sure if it's unwanted, which there's that kind of like weird line.
You're not clear if it's just she's flustered or if it's
like don't please no. Can we why are we talking about Stardew Valley's green and leathery dinosaur mayonnaise? It's so fucked. What's been happening in chat?
What's happening in the chat when we're not paying attention?
The last stream you were here for, they ended up talking about a book describing a certain bodily fluid tasting like custard. What bodily fluid was that? Oh. What was that specifically about though? Because it was I sent you the Devon custard meme.
You did. And it was about the romance tropes where it was everything is overly sweetened, quite literally in some cases.
Yeah. Sorry, I just like that I can have a glance at chat and people are like, come, come, aye? Aye, come. Fuck's sake. Aye, so that's, I'd say,
It's the last 20 minutes of the stream. It always goes to ranged at
always,
this point.
yeah, okay, we've reached, like, I don't know,
I
Twilight
didn't
Zone.
forget. I just was not going to feed into trying to get the memory to come back.
Yeah. There's a reason that I forget a lot of the stuff. It's because I have to purge it from my memory to remain sane.
We literally afterwards we just go into like the other room and we just sit there and we just like forget everything we just talked about.
we have like a little bit of a debrief, and then we just like, okay, let's draw a line under this and never speak about any of it ever again. Okay, Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Atten, I was a slut for Atten Rand. I can't deviate from that still. He was. I enjoyed his banter. I enjoyed that he was self-aware that he was a Harrison Ford insert. I also Isis Mar, and I wanted to like Mira. I wanted to like Mira because I knew she was the stand-in for Mara Jade, and but it wasn't done well. Because I would have given you my right arm and left probably to have a romance with Mara Jade at that time in my life. So, yeah. But it was Atten and Thesis Mar that they were my main kind of go-to for them.
Like, Atten was good as a kind of, like, ongoing jokey character. I quite liked Beodur, even if he was a little bit annoying. I thought, like, the history of him and you, like, he calls you, like, Commander or something like that.
Yeah.
No, he calls you General. Which I thought was quite cool. I quite like Beodur. I don't really play with I like Mandalore. Mandalore's normally one of the guys in my team. But like, I think like Knights of the Old Republic 2 made me think a wee bit more, like, because I could enter any any planet in Knights of the Old Republic 1 with like the same the same companion setup. Like, I normally play these games with the same companions, like, as in actually fighting with me all the way through, and only go back to the Ebonhawk to do all the side quests and stuff like that, which makes it really difficult when you're doing the side quests, because you need to, like, walk around with the people to trigger the side quests. But, no, Knights of the Old Republic 2, it was either... I normally have Atten Rand, I normally have a Mandalore, but then I would sometimes swap that out for, like, Kreia and Visas Mar.
Kreia was a good one. I like playing with Kreia.
Yeah, but there's like, I don't know. There's a lot of good. To be honest, I really want to play through Knights of the Old Republic 2 again with like the cut content mod, and all the rest of it, because I feel like there's actually tons that was cut, and like I remember playing through Knights of the Old Republic 2 with the mod installed for the first time, and I was like, holy shit, that's like a completely different game.
It was, yeah.
Also, I'll never understand people who skip Paragus. I kind of enjoy the Paragus mining facility. I don't see it. Like, there's people who skip Taris as well. I love
like
all that.
In Red Dead, people skip the intro to Red Dead.
Red Dead 2, I could understand that because it's long as fuck.
It does take a long time to get down from the mountains. It is very kind of repetitive and slow. But for me, it's part of the experience. When I'm playing games like that, it's part of the experience, is the fact that it's tedious but it's interactive enough that I'm not bored. I suppose if it was like my 5th or 6th playthrough, I'd get really bored with it and probably skip it.
Yeah.
As Fantasy Man saying, they'd watch you play it too. I would also watch you play
Knights of the Old Republic.
I would, because I love it and I can't get it to work on my machine.
One of the biggest problems I have is actually trying to get Knights of the Old Republic to run on like a modern machine. You've got to hack it to shit. Like, and there is mods, but then it's like, it's not just trying to get it to run, it's also trying to get it in the right fucking resolution. Like, that's a pain in the arse as well.
I find that the GOG version of it works better than the Steam version, but even then, it doesn't always launch reliably for me.
Great.
Which was why the remaster would have been so good.
Yeah.
If it was like, as long as they didn't fuck it at the last hour, it would have been.
See, my worry is that, like, and to be honest, I think they were going for a full-on fucking remake, as in they were they were gonna loosely tie it together with the OG, but I don't know, because I feel like it could be such a good franchise, right? It could be so well done.
It
Like
is a good
if it was
franchise.
if it was
It's just
updated,
dated.
yeah, if it was updated to modern time, they wanted to take the D&D out the remaster, and you wanted nothing to do with it. That's fair enough, Arch Factor, because I quite like I quite like the D&D aspect of it. I think I'd feel weird going into a Knights of the Old Republic game without that mechanic. I think they could modernize it, but like it should really just be a graphic update. Like they could.
Yeah.
There was actually a fan remake in the works in Unreal Engine 4, but they got cease and desist because this project was supposed to be going ahead. So they fucking drew a line under it and then they cancelled it, which is just shit. um, One thing that I
Yeah,
never understood.
yeah.
Sorry, go on.
I think the D&D aspect is, I think they want to remove it because not everyone. It's simple. It would simplify the access to the game greatly if you weren't
Yeah.
having to do maths to play the game. And I can understand why they would do that, but that's not the point of these games.
Mm. Yeah, I mean,
So
like,
yeah,
I, even if they remove the D&D aspect with like the RNG on like how likely you were to hit or anything like that, I mean, like, I don't know. I just I wouldn't want them to turn it into like a Dragon Age Inquisition type thing.
no,
Um, like I wouldn't want that type of combat to be in the game. I'd much prefer it to be like basically I want to be able to spam flurry. That's all I did. Spam flurry, and then when you get force lightning, spam force lightning. Um, One thing I never got about Knights of the Old Republic though, and I'm not sure if it's just a thing with the game, but I never like I was always really light side. I like being a good
hmm
person. I find like obviously there's some people who really like being evil. I like being a good
I
boy.
try to play evil playthroughs and
Don't
I
like
feel
it.
so bad I can't do it. I have
Yeah.
immediate remorse. I load the game again. Like it's
Yep.
just I'm not good at it. Not good
Well,
at it.
that's the thing with like I find like the morality system in Knights of the Old Republic 2 is really quite interesting because it's way more like grey.
Yeah.
Like
Which
you
is kind
don't
of the theme of the whole thing.
yeah.
Like that's what Cray is kind of setting you up for. Like there's more than just black and white, good and evil.
Yeah. Um, and I liked I mean the character design for like the likes of like Darth Nihilus and stuff's pretty cool. Like obviously there's a wee bit of Revan in there, but like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the three main Sith were all like visually distinct enough, and there was a bit more like kind of to them. Um, and then I don't know what they're doing with the whole rule of two shit. Like a Sith were way more cool when there was like a whole fucking bunch of them. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's
Which is kind of what I like about the Old Republic.
mhm.
I know it's an online game and it's not wonderful, but I do kind of enjoy the fact that the storylines are so much more varied and like
Mm,
you're in this kind of like world where they're not rare, and I do enjoy that because it makes the conflict more interesting for me.
yeah,
Um, I would enjoy greatly if they had those arcs, but in a non MMO sense.
yeah,
That's my
yeah.
only thing.
See, I like with MMOs. It's sometimes quite difficult to like feel part of the world.
Yeah,
Like, and it's the same problem I've got with like live service games. I mean, one of the games that's just came out on Xbox Game Pass is the Ghost Recon Wildlands, which
yeah,
it isn't live service, I don't think. Um, but the other version of that, which is Ghost Recon Breakpoint or something, like they have this like they start the game with you crash landing on this island. You're shot down. You're like you're going to try and save some hostages or something like that. You get shot down and you're like the only survivor. And then you have to like you struggle through and you survive the night and you eventually find your way to a cave where the resistance are held up. And then it takes you into the MMO world where you walk in and there is like fucking 60 players all running around doing daft shit like jumping on
yeah.
tables. And it's like, oh, I don't quite feel like I am taking the fight to, you know, the people on the island. It's like now just this big open thing with all these other players. And you know what gamers are like? Gamers are bastards. Um, so,
I relaunched the Lord of the Rings online recently because I
all
love
right,
that game. I love that game,
I would
and
love to play that.
unfortunately, motion sickness now,
Oh,
which I don't remember it doing back then.
oh,
But it's the one kind of game where players aren't just dicks to each other,
oh,
and
nice.
it's really fun. Like everyone's kind of like we're there to
Like in
do
character,
Walter and
like
Hobbiton, yeah,
yeah.
and and then I was like, oh, maybe I'll try it. Like I wanted that fantasy element, but I didn't want to have to install anything. And I had Elder Scrolls Online installed, and I'm like, I'll just go in here.
Oh
And
no.
I like Elder Scrolls Online, but
Okay.
I hate people. I hate the people, and it's like I'm sure if I was playing with friends, it would be different. But the
Yeah.
only more unenjoyable experience is playing Red Dead 2 online when people have
Oh
literally
no no
hacked
no
the
no.
game and you're
Yeah.
getting blasted with a bazooka and like a UFO will come along and steal your horse. Like I've never played a
Yeah.
worse game than Red Dead 2 online, and Elder Scrolls Online came second to that because it was
Mm.
like I really liked the story. I really liked a lot of the stuff they did, especially with the vampire story arc that they did.
Yeah.
And then you are trying to do things and there's people just camping you the whole time. And it's like, why are you? Is this like go play Red Dead? Go if you want to be an
Yeah.
asshole, go play Red Dead. Like that's yeah.
No,
So yeah.
that's fair. I'm just like, you know what they need to bring back? They just need to bring back RuneScape from 2007. Solve all of the world's
Yeah,
problems in one fell swoop. Like
I agree.
I like that was my first dip into like the MMO space, and to be honest, like to this day kind of remains like one of my only real MMO experiences, because like I never got super into World of Warcraft. Um yeah, old school RuneScape, yeah. RuneScape never like I know RuneScape still exists. Last time I fucking logged in, like did they not bring it out in like an app? And it was like it is old school RuneScape. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that. But what I'm saying is we need to revert back to when that was the only thing. No, I'm not talking about no, like remove all of the newer ones because that's all garbage. We now need to just do
We just need
2007
to go back in
RuneScape.
time. We just need to go back in time. And personally, I want to go back in time and save Looking Glass Studios from going under.
Mm.
They had so much to
Who were
give us,
they?
and they did the original Thief games,
Oh, right, okay.
and they did a lot of other. They did System Shock and some other things as well that were really fundamental to a lot of things, and they just didn't get any money,
Mm.
and they got bought by EA and Eidos Montreal, and
Yeah.
that was the
Um,
end of that.
I'm starting to think that the reason I want the return to old school RuneScape is because I actually want to return to the age I was at while playing old school RuneScape. It's just not so much the game and the gaming landscape. It's more the time. Life was simpler then. All I had to do was fish for lobsters and then sell them, and then cheat people out on the trading side of things. But no, I really enjoyed playing RuneScape when I was younger. It was good fun, and of course people would type the most like insane shit into chat, and you could you could add like asterisks and make your like text wave when you typed it. That was always good fun. Um, but yeah,
Okay, Fallen to Life just maybe where the Square Enix just sold the rights to Thief, so this is now a crowdfunding stream. We are getting
yeah.
Thief back.
Not
We
the
are
so
we are contacting the original
well.
Looking Glass people, and we are fixing the timeline. We are
Well, that was the
bringing
thing.
actual.
Square Enix. Hold on, I pulled it up. So Square Enix sold the fucking rights to Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, like to fund NFTs. Joy, they sold it. They sold it for 300 million for all of those fucking IPs. Like those IPs are way more valuable. If you think of the Tomb Raider reboots that have just came out, Deus Ex maybe needs a little bit of injection, to be honest. I've not played either Human Revolution or Mankind Divided, but like, yeah, because it was Eidos Montreal that had.
Yeah.
Eidos Montreal did Thief, they did Tomb Raider, they did Deus Ex, they did the atrocious Marvel's Avengers game, but then they did Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, which was really good. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but it was,
Isn't Square Enix also the Final Fantasy games?
yeah, which they didn't sell.
Which they didn't
Um,
sell because that would just be like selling off your main cash cow. But the fact that they're
yeah.
selling Tomb Raider I can understand Thief because Thief flop, but Tomb Raider to buy
Yeah.
NFTs is just like who, what,
But like,
why?
even still, like even if the most recent Thief isn't great, the potential of Thief is great, and it's like,
Yes.
to be honest, if Square Enix maybe just identified that they're not really into like more like Western orientated IPs and they'd rather stick with Final Fantasy, that's absolutely fine. But like, I think they did keep some, didn't they? They kept some weird ones.
They did.
Hold on, let's see. What IP did Square Enix keep? If I can type with my clicky clack
They
keyboard.
did Dragon Quest. I didn't know they did Dragon Quest.
They held. Oh yeah, they held on to Outriders, which was a kind of live action looter shooter thing that wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
It wasn't shit. I remember playing that. That was good fun. Um,
It feels like they sold off the ones that are too expensive for them to make good.
yeah. Isn't Square Enix selling off a lot of IPs so they can be bought out by Sony? I mean they could. Uh, so there we go. So we know for sure that Deus Ex, Tomb Raider, Thief, and Legacy of Kain were included in the deal to be sold. I never played Legacy of Kain, but I've heard fans of it are really happy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they they kept Life is Strange, Outriders, and Just Cause, and like I don't know, Just Cause. I don't think I've ever enjoyed a Just Cause game. It doesn't know what it wants to be.
Yeah.
Like you're always chucked on an island and then you've got to be a rebel, but it's never like there's just never any substance. There's a wee bit like the Far Cry games for me. It's just
Which can be fun to dick around in, but if you want something
yeah,
deeper than that, then it's not really the thing for you.
yeah. Nah, I'm
Focusing, it looks like they're focusing on online games, as Cinnamon Pancakes is saying, which that's
I
you
mean,
know,
like Life is Strange. Is that an online game? Just Cause? It just it's weird that they would keep hold of them. Like I
yeah,
definitely think Final Fantasy Online for them will be fucking rolling in the cash. Um, it's you know what? It's quite freaky as someone who doesn't play a lot of like I don't play a lot of like free to play like MMO always online kind of games. So when I hear like that Diablo Immortal is like already over 1 billion in revenue, I'm like, what? Maybe I'm just not the type of person to like. I am not their person to do it, but it's like,
yeah.
yeah, it's a strange one.
There's some
Like,
people it's their main, that's their
yeah,
thing. They love that. That's what they. I mean, my the
it's
husband Mothman. It's the gambling. Like I was gonna bring you up there, Mothman, but you were a huge WoW player for a long, long time, and you stopped
mm,
because it was literally just kind of like it was such a huge time sink as well. Because if you're not online constantly playing, you lose out on things. Like even I play Elder Scrolls Online casually, and like
yeah,
I'll log in, and it'll be like everyone else is like oh like I'm level like 400 now and I've
yeah,
done all these quests and I'm like still doing the basic ones because I don't I it's a time sink I don't have the time span or the focus for the attention span for.
yeah.
I'm one of those people that will load up a game, play it for 48 hours, and then I log out again because that's the hyperfixation's gone, the urge is gone. Like literally, The Sims, I will binge The Sims for a period of about 2 weeks, and then I won't touch it for another year.
But
Um,
like that's I think this is why I don't really see I don't understand what the end game is with like live service games because I mean like you know if you've got something like Marvel, like the Marvel Avengers like game that came out, that was supposed to
mhm.
be like a live service looter shooter, have that community around it. The problem is that how like it's almost like they don't it's like the developers or like the people who make the decisions on whether or not it's a live service game or not like these still have a lifespan. If anything, they have less of a lifespan than some games that are maybe a bit more evergreen. Like you will still
Yeah,
have people playing the likes of Hollow Knight or the likes of Knights of the Old Republic or the likes of
yeah.
like Disco Elysium, Mass Effect, whatever that is. That has a kind of established like base where if people will pick that up over time. But you're not gonna catch me, buying the Marvel game now to then not enjoy my experience because the servers aren't full or whatever it
I mean,
is.
that to me, it's the Marvel one's really interesting because there is a market for that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Because the DC Universe MMO is still packed.
Mm-hmm.
It's free to play. It's still packed. You log in. Like I literally logged in for the first time in like a year, like a couple of months ago, and my guild mates were still there, and they're like, "Joy," and I'm like, "I haven't logged in about
What the
5 years,"
fuck?
but they're like, "Yeah, you're here," and but that their servers are always full, so there is a market for that.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
just fucked it so badly that
yeah.
people were like, no.
It
Rather
is.
play DC. I'd rather play DC Universe that's like almost 15 years old at this point.
Yeah.
So
That it's odd. I suppose, I don't know. I quite like. Maybe it's just because I like playing these games for like stories. I like digesting
yeah,
the stories a lot. So like from a narrative perspective, like and I'm not saying that MMOs and stuff can't have good stories in them. It's just more like focused and you're about the character and all that kind of stuff.
I feel
Um,
MMOs are more for if you've got friends to play with. I feel because to me that's like the driving force. I only really enjoy MMOs if I have people I'm actually friends with. If the only exception to this was Lord of the Rings, where I actually made friends because everyone was so nice. They are still nice. It's just unfortunate I can't play. But I like there's a lot of places where I would log in, and it would be really alienating to get into things. So it was really
yeah.
also really hard because you couldn't always enjoy the storyline because you were getting camped by somebody, or there was you couldn't do certain quests because you had to do the multiplayer aspect of it. And the only one that I've never had that was Lord of the Rings. I
Mm.
could have gone through Lord of the Rings on my own quite cheerfully, but for somehow I ended up with a guild of people, and they were all really nice. And I was like, oh, this is the first time this has literally ever happened to me.
Mm.
And I'm still friends with a lot of them today. We just don't play Lord of the Rings anymore.
Yeah.
But
No, I think it's yeah. I think it's I used to play like games with my friends like Xbox 360, the golden era of Xbox Live and stuff like that. And then as I shifted more towards PC, I've realised that I've got no friends, so I need to I stick mainly to single player experiences. But no, like it's funny how that kind of works. I mean, I just like demolishing stories. Like it's why I can go on a binge and it might be a month or two of like playing all the Dragon Ages or playing all the
mhm.
Mass Effects because it's like you just like to fucking sink your time into that world. I always find the only problem that I would say as a streamer, I suppose, I feel like the way I would play these games would annoy the shit out of anyone who would want to watch me play those games. It's not happening. I'm fine playing like slightly more linear narrative experiences, but like fucking people do not want to see me exploring planets and doing the most mundane shit. It's one thing to
They
be in like
might.
that. Nah, it doesn't work. The, I'm telling you, the viewer numbers in Twitch chatters don't fucking lie. I'm telling you, it's like if I'm in a action packed sequence, absolutely fine. If it's me driving around in the stupid fucking Mako or picking up elf fruit, it's a completely different thing. It's I'm
I
in.
mean, it's not like Skyrim's one of those weird games where you can literally do walking tours of Skyrim and people will join the streams in
Yeah.
masses just to watch someone walk around
Mm.
Skyrim.
But is that not
And
because the person's been more of a kind of like David Attenborough of Skyrim?
they're not even talking, a lot of them. A lot of them are just walking around looking at scenery.
Damn.
They're not. They've got combat disengaged. There's nothing like they've got the
Fuck.
god mode on. They're doing, there's literally there's also the videos on YouTube are really popular, and it's the scenic scenes of Skyrim, and they've got like a couple of million views, and it's just the guy just walking through Citadel or walking through here with the ambient music and the nature sounds, and it, and
Maybe I need.
like
Maybe so.
sometimes.
What I'm hearing is I need to up my fucking game then. Jesus, right? If I didn't know I could get you all fucking watching if I just strolled through Skyrim or fucking walked through. No, Skyrim walking stream, but with all trees are hands modders. No, it's not. It's not happening. Have you seen this, Joy?
Yes, I saw that
Is it,
one, and people were tagging me because everyone knows I've got a bit of a thing for hands, and everyone's like, "Come watch the hand mod." Kind of, it was the most terrifying thing I've seen in quite a
when
long
you
time,
say
which is all the trees are hands.
when you see a thing for hands, is it like an ick or is it like a thing?
It's a thing.
Oh,
Its
okay.
hands are very attractive, so it's a thing for me. And that stream almost ruined it for me.
It's because they're all
It was
minging.
like,
It's like they're all just like stuck up. It's also worse if you have like a deep foliage mod on, or like extra trees and more forest,
yeah.
and you have like hands overlapping each other. It is pain. If I did the Sean Connery voice while doing a walk into the Skyrim, no, I feel like this.
That's your new niche. That's how you end up trending.
Yeah, yeah. But Skyrim truffling mode. No, we can't. We can't. Look, we're gonna have to retire truffling at some. Maybe not actually. Maybe we just have it as a thing now. It's the worst thing I've ever invented on the fly. Was that not during a power wash stream?
It was,
It
I
was,
think.
and then it lends itself to Stardew. That's paid. You recently re-downloaded Skyrim to play fan-made DLC. Yeah, like some of the quest mods in Skyrim are
The,
like,
if you ever play Enderall, which is it uses the Skyrim engine, but it's its own separate game. Enderall
hmm.
is fantastic. I love Enderall. It's scary as hell,
Oh,
but it is
sweet.
good. And they just not recently, but there is a second part to the Enderall series as well. It's
Oh,
completely
sweet.
free.
That sounds cool. Is that just a
Enderall's
Nexus
good.
mod?
It's on. You can get it on Steam, and it just uses your
Shit.
Skyrim directory, and it plays the game. It's really
Oh, is
fantastic.
that a separate game?
It's a whole separate game. It's
Oh,
not a
fuck.
Skyrim
Okay.
mod.
All
It's
right.
like a
Okay.
whole game that they've made using the Skyrim engine. It's amazing.
Oh, fucking hell. We should play that at some point.
You should. It's a horror game. It is a horror
Oh,
game, but
good.
it is good.
Don't worry. I
It's good.
I I started my Twitch career as a horror game streamer. Look how far we come. You now watch me farm in Stardew. Um, but yeah, no, it used to be like Outlast that I played.
We still
Which
have
was
that Cthulhu game that we were gonna play, and then
was
both
it
of us
Devour?
chickened out. Devour. Both of us. Yeah, we're gonna play that. I played 5 minutes by myself in the
It's
dark.
sort
I'm
of
like, no, no,
it's
can't do
like
it.
I was like it was either me and Joy were either gonna play Devour or The Forest. So
The
we
forest was less terrifying.
yeah, like
I was like, can we play the forest? I need to feel safe right now.
maybe I could have a Jedi mode for Skyrim and play as Obi-Wan. I could do. I could dress up as Obi-Wan as well. You could get Obi-Wanception.
You can wait for the winter and do it that way. That way you've got a
Yeah, at
reason to
least
be warm while you're doing it instead of putting on layers right now.
the Obi-Wan costume and the Udi. That's
Yes.
but no, I think I'll have a wee look at Endor because I actually need to decide what I need to stream for this week. That's
Enderall is good. I really like Enderall, and there's also a part two.
okay.
So if you do decide you like it, there's also the people. It's the same kind of like the people who made Forgotten City. It's that kind of they got their start as doing Skyrim mods and then they went and made their own things. But
Oh, cool.
Enderall, just because it uses the same Skyrim, it relies on the Skyrim directory, so it's still free to use. So
Sorry, I'm just replying to Blind Panda Bear there with Udi Wan. Fuck's sake. No, that's fair. Okay, so yeah, I'll look into that because that does sound like a good laugh. I'm wondering what I'm trying to think of like what other games are actually like on the horizon, right? Because there's so we're playing through Plague Tale Requiem at the moment. We started that last week.
is that the new one or is that
No, sorry,
different?
sorry.
Is that the original?
No, Plague Tale Requiem's the one coming out. We started Plague Tale Innocence. Requiem's coming out in October. But we started Innocence, and that's good fun. That's like
It is good. I'm
fun.
looking forward to Mask of the Rose, which is from the people
Oh,
that did Fall in London. I'm really looking forward to that.
oh,
Because I have the Fall in London, I have the Sunless Sea games, and they're great, but it's really hard and I struggle with it. But the Mask of the Rose is much more like the actual Fall in London web game, so I'm looking forward to that one coming out. And every other game I have on my wish list is either a city builder or some sort of strategy game because there's no JRPGs I'm looking forward to at the minute. So
that's fair.
which is sad because that's how I started out. You
You know, I was kind of hoping, but it's unfortunately not going to be released this year. I was hoping that the Fallout London mod was going to be out. Um,
That would have been good.
have you seen the trailer for it?
I have not, but I've
It is
heard about it from people who said it was
it's
really, really good.
it's like stunningly high production. Like I'm not joking. It's like impressively high production. I think like I'm pretty sure Sylvester McCoy's a voice actor in it and everything.
Oh wow!
Yeah, like I'm not joking. It's fucking impressive.
It's like when the modders get the voice actor for Fenris to do a bunch of I can't remember
Yeah,
his name. He's
yeah.
in Skyrim and a bunch of other places, and he'll randomly show up in like modders stuff, and it's like how much are they paying you? And I don't know if he does get paid for it or if he's just given his time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's kind of fun when you see that. But yeah,
Nah, that's cool. Um, I've played through Dishonored recently. I I, I don't know why. I just don't. I just like
I love Dishonored 1 and I hate the rest of the franchise.
yeah, like Dishonored.
It killed my love of the fandom. Was the game two, Dishonored 2 and Dishonored 3. It really just I didn't enjoy them, and
As
it kind
in
of
like
made me stop posting fan because there's something like 40 fanfics on my AO3 and 29 of them are for Dishonored,
yeah.
and then you can tell where I just lost complete interest, and it's when the second game came out.
I
So
I tried play like so. I like someone spoke to me and like really recommended Dishonored, and I remember playing it yonks ago, but I'd kind of forgotten the most of it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna replay it. I'm gonna go there with kind of fresh face, and it's it's fine. But I think one of the things that I kind of slip into when it comes to these games is that like there's a slight annoyance when it comes to like the outcome of the game is determined by all of your actions like in the game. So like
yeah,
I never go on a killing spree in these games because like I said with Mass Effect and Dragon Age and Knights of the Old Republic, I've always tried to play the good character. Um and like I do the same in Metro. So Metro has a mechanic in it where you don't kill anyone and you get the better ending. So I've always tried to do that. And then it just means that I like because I'm not stealth killing and I'm not like doing the normal gunplay or anything like that. I just find it really kind of. But I've realized I've played Dishonored twice, three times now, and I don't think I've ever actually been in serious combat. Um,
my Dishonored. Let's see if I can find it. My Dishonored hour count for Steam
487. Go on.
700.
You fuck off, really?
I've played it so many
I
times.
was gonna, I was gonna just study each pixel on screen or something like that. Fucking hell, that is serious.
I I have played Dishonored 1 many, many, many times. By contrast
Yeah,
to Dishonored 2, I have about 30 hours.
fuck.
So
I I
that's
didn't
the
even.
difference for me. And the thing is,
Jesus.
for me, the Dishonored was the stealth game that I had been missing since the original Thief
Mm,
trilogy. Because I loved stealth. Like I would play, like even if I go back and look at my Thief, like if I have I have Thief Gold installed, which lets you play on Windows 10. Um, my original CD-ROM for Thief snapped because I played it so often. And for Thief Gold, I have about 80 hours on play for a game that takes about maybe 20 hours to
mm,
play. So it's like 4 playthroughs I've had since I reinstalled this 6 months ago.
that's cool.
And I was huge. I love Thief, and I loved this actual stealth of it, and I loved that Dishonored felt like an actual stealth game to me. And there
Mm.
was the mechanics where you could sneak around and do things really sneakily. Like I walked around giving everybody the nice friendly hug from behind until they passed out, and everyone got chucked in dumpsters. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it because I am a true stealth player at heart, but there's
Mm.
not a lot of games that let you have true stealth. And the thing is, Dishonored came on the back of Thief 4 being such a major disappointment.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where I was like, oh, this is what Thief 4 could have been if they had actually done stealth. So I really enjoyed Dishonored 1. I have the only thing that has more hours in my library is Skyrim.
Fair.
Metal Gear Solid 1, I I really struggle with controllers. We now know why. It's because my fingers don't hold on to the controller very well. But my brother played Metal Gear Solid 1 a lot of the time, and for what it was, I thought it was really good. But to me, I still preferred the thief stealth mechanisms.
Have you ever played like the original Deus Ex and done like a stealth run of that, or?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. I will if there's a chance to play stealth in it, and I will say a lot of the older games did stealth better.
Mm.
And I think it's because they had to be clever about it. And
Yeah.
then you get into a lot of like, oh, we have stealth, and it's like they don't. They have the option for you to be slightly less noisy and
but it's
yeah.
like you're still killing your way through a lot of like.
Yeah, you're still killing your way through
See,
it.
that's my approach to stealth, though.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
look, if no one can raise the alarm if they're all dead. So.
Because like the purpose that I loved about the thief games is that you're a thief, not a murderer. That was that was Geralt's morally grey line where he's like, I'm not killing people. I steal things from rich people and
Were you not?
poor people.
Were you not penalised if you did kill?
Yes.
Yeah.
You lost points, or the mission would be incompleted or whatever if you did kill people. And that to me was what made it really nice and challenging. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed playing a character that was truly morally grey, but at the same time it wasn't morally grey in terms of like because people say now that characters are morally grey. And they're not. They're just they're committing homicides. That's not morally grey. That's a very definitive thing.
It depends if the homicides are based or not.
Yeah, depends on how cool they are. How cool. They look. But with like the Thief franchise, it is kind of morally grey because he's stealing mostly from rich people. You have the chance if you're walking past a random.
I'd actually say that's morally good.
Yeah, but like you had the option where you could steal from poor people if you wanted to. Or you could try and get your target from just wealthy houses. And that was how I played. It was like, oh, we're going after a landlord. Say no more. Like, oh, don't you want to know what he's done? He's a landlord.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Right, I'm careful of your time, Joy.
Yes.
Because naturally we've gone over. But no, cool. In that case, thanks very much for that, folks. Hope you enjoyed that chat about BioWare and all things BioWare and many different tangents.
All the tangents we went on.
Lots of different games. But we're going to do the thing. You'll be able to catch this stream on our YouTube channel. So please give us a wee subscription. And, like, honestly, even if you have it up on the background, like, I know that lots of people do watch this live. But if you want to help us in any way, give us a wee thumbs up and all that jazz. It'll help the algorithm kind of overlords.
The YouTube gods.
Also, I think this is maybe one of the streams where we've managed to get the whole way through without for some reason mentioning Hunger Pangs. But
I mentioned it once. I did mention.
Oh right, okay.
Of Gaslamp.
Well, I was gonna say, well, in that case, you're not, but like, there's not gonna be a stream where Hunger Pangs isn't mentioned because you should go and buy Joy's books, and you can also support Joy on Patreon as well.
Thank you.
Cool.
And if you are new here, if you've followed over from my blog, please do consider subscribing to AyeSphere. Give him a follow. You get access to lots of fun emotes that you don't otherwise get. You get the cats, which is always good to me. You also have access to his Discord, which if you want to hang out with some cool people, I would go into the Discord. And you can also support Aye on Ko-fi, which you should really consider doing because he's a lot of fun and he funds a lot of this fun stuff that we're doing. So
I'm also absolutely skint at the moment.
You are, yeah.
I'm like working on it. I've got a couple of job interviews. Wait, the Foil and Redeem. I know I'm gonna go and grab it. Lysander.
Grab Holly instead.
That's fine. We can. By the way, I've also just seen Lysander mention Jade Empire, and I can't believe we fucking forgot about Jade Empire.
We did forget Jade.
What the fuck? Jade Empire stream next week.
Stream.
Oh yeah,
we're
definitely.
Have to do it again because I think we can. I could literally talk for like an hour straight about Dishonored, and you would hate it, but I could do it. But I could also talk for an hour straight about Thief and how fandom content became the drive. Like, I'm doing it now. But yeah, I could literally talk about fandom-driven content.
Right, you can talk a little bit about that while I go and grab Fuelin, okay? You'll be cutting about, so one sec.
So if you've never played the original Thief games, a huge part of Thief was they used to let you have your own mods and you could play your own sort of things. And they made the Terry Pratchett, you would randomly find him in all the Thief forums, which I thought was always really cool. So
he is raging.
Oh, the failing boy. There he is. not happy.
He's
Not a happy
absolutely fucking raging.
boy.
Come on.
The claws are right there.
think he just scratched my fucking neck. Actually, he's like assassin. Sorry. There we go. One Phelan redeemed. That is a hunk. He is fucking.
He's a big boy.
He's a himbo. He's It's funny. We had to take them to the vet last week. So both of them went. They got a kind of checkup, and it was funny because like Phelan. We think that the dad was part Mancoon.
That would make sense with the size of him.
Because
Yeah.
he's a fucking like he's a big boy. He's not like full on Mancoon with like the proper face, but like the pet was like the vet was like holy shit, that is like one big cat. And they said it was interesting because like they're both house cats. We don't let them out. One because we live on the third floor, and because two that would be dangerous. But they said it's quite nice seeing a house cat that's also like quite lean but just so like big because fluffy, just a giant ball of fluff really. But yeah, sorry. Continue your conversation.
I think it was done.
Oh, but we're done. Oh,
I
sweet.
think it was done. I was just saying how the Thief fandoms were, we made a lot of mods that you could add into the game because we were so hungry for content. But also Terry Pratchett was one of them. Terry Pratchett was a huge fan of mods for the Bethesda games. He modded his Oblivion. He wrote character stuff for a lot of Oblivion mods.
Holy shit.
And the Skyrim one as well. So
that's cool. That's fucking cool. Sound. Alrighty, well, in that case, we shall wrap it up. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day and a good start to next week. And we'll see you next time.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Catch you in a bit, folks. Bye-bye.